In the most thrilling episode yet, Lloyd will meet the Demon Lord from the underworld, a catastrophe in every sense of the word. Lloyd won't be able to defeat him with all his power. Instead, the Demon Lord will throw spears at him and turn him to stone. Moreover, in this exciting episode, we'll see Lloyd's friends sacrifice themselves for each other amidst harsh events and painful scenes. Stay with us until the end to learn the whole story. Prince Lloyd, a weak magician, is killed in front of everyone because his magic is the weakest, but he is reincarnated and becomes the strongest one. A man is suffering a lot in front of some nobles who laugh at his situation, and the noble in question says he will give him a gift, telling him to cast a spell before his death. But the spell he casts is ridiculously weak and slow, not causing the slightest damage to the noble. So everyone starts laughing at the boy's situation, and then the noble is completely dismissive of his situation and says that the most important thing for a magician is his lineage, talent, and effort. And he says that these are the words of the father of magic, Guilherme Bordeaux, but the nobleman tells him not to confuse things. After all, the effort mentioned there is a broader prerequisite, wasting his time for nothing. After all, magic will never smile on a pawn like him. And then the noble begins to cast a spell in his hand. That becomes increasingly violent, and he throws this magic at the commoner, who begins to scream in pain when he is hit. But while he is roasted in the middle of the flames, he says that it is magnificent and is impressed by that magic that such a talented noble can cast. He says that even though it is hot and painful, it is very beautiful. So he is amazed by all that scenario in his head. He states that if he could, he wanted to improve and learn more and more, getting better and getting deeper into magic. And so he ends up closing his eyes. But when he opens them again, he realizes that there are several giant people around him dressed as maids, and soon Pens launches a fireball to defend himself from them, but realizes that his hand has become too small. But even so, he manages to invoke his magic by launching a blast of fire that leaves the castle towards the sky. Meanwhile, in the city, everyone celebrates the birth of the 7th Prince Lloyd in the castle. Everyone is scared by that magic that someone who was just born cast. And after a few years, the kingdom remains peaceful and already in the castle. The maids continue looking for the prince, but without being able to find him, and then he was hiding. He comes out from behind a pillar saying that they are already gone. But when he is relieved, 2 guards appear behind him calling for the prince. So he asks for silence. After all, he is hiding. So the knight understands what he is saying and calls Lloyd to hunt with him, but when the other one notices, he had already left. So he notices the boy's unpretentious attitude, and the other noble says that he is the 7th prince, so because he is much younger. He is out of the fight for the throne, and so he says that winning in his favor wouldn't make so much sense. But another knight tells him not to talk nonsense, because the 7th prince spoke soon after he was born and read magic books instead of illustrated books, and he refused breast milk as if it were the mirror of chivalryism. And furthermore, he believes that the prince is the reincarnation of the great William Bordeaux, a detail that back then was William Bordeaux. Now he is William Bordeaux, who, after hearing all their conversation, the prince says that they are right. After all, he was born again. He is a reincarnated person, but he was no hero of the past. He was just an ordinary resident of Solomid, and he doesn't know how he managed to keep his memories of his past life or why he was born as a privileged person as the 7th. The only thing that matters to him is maintain his ambitions from his past life, because since then his philosophy has not changed, and all that interests him is discovering how many incredible magics this palace has. And he is once again amazed by the palace's collection, because it doesn't even compare to the Academy of Solon's magic. However, when he sneaks and takes one of the books, Silpha appears taking the book from his hand, and he already stands back, and then without even talking much, she leaves with him for a frank exchange of swords, where he demonstrates that he has an incredible level in the art of fencing. I would take a break. Lloyd says that he doubts that the 7th prince really needs Gemma lessons. But Silpha says that succession is not everything because, as a member of royalty, it is good that he knows how to handle a sword. And she says that it has been 3 years that she was responsible for his education, and that is practically the meaning of his life. And he thinks that if he stays calm, this class will last forever, so they attack each other again. And then he manages the feat of stopping her sword face to face with her. And after a few more pecks of the sword, Esfa starts to think that it is incredible that he gets stronger every day, and he thinks that this is clear. After all, she always holds back, and he is currently using magic like control to trace all her movements, meaning that she is basically fighting a clone of him. He straight up admits that he is using a hack, but all he is doing is to be able to read it, and he continues to follow her every step. But determined moment, he ends up being subdued. So he thinks that, even though he uses this skill, the differences between strength, energy, and height are still heavy because he can copy her techniques. But these small differences are enough to put him at a disadvantage and make him lose. So he decides that today he will do an experiment. He will cover the difference using his magic. So he activates his hack once again, making his sword grow, and he also appears a little bigger, accelerating his biological growth and going after her again. And when they exchange the first blows, Silpha feels something different. Then they continue battling until they manage to get an explosion out of two swords. Then he thinks that covers the differences, and now he should be able to deal with her. And so they begin a very well choreographed scene of Eloi thinks with him who has now managed to cover all the differences. So he wonders what will happen if a mirror doesn't follow all her movements and ends up adding something that makes her lose, so he uses magic to move a little faster. He takes the impulse at the source and comes back to her apologizing because he really wants to read soon. But in the same way, she manages to stop his attack and asks if he is cheating, and with ISO, she can easily disarm him, Bandy, the boy, and hit his head with the sword, and Silva asks if he thought she wouldn't notice the difference in his reach, because he made his sword grow and started to levitate to cover the difference in height. And he did all this, so they were almost on the same level. So the girl starts to freak out, calling him incredible and talented, and soon starts to swing him as if he were the doll Happy, because he had activated two spells at the same time. And she says that even court sorcerers would have difficulty with this, but asks him not to rush. After all, she will stay there for a long time so he can develop calmly and in his mind. He is already completely fed up with this and says that in fact he didn't have two active spells, but four of them, so a while later he ends up going to take a shower with the girls. But I'm not going to show this scene here. They'll only know what's necessary, and they try to scare him by talking about a demon in the palace's hidden library, and contrary to what they thought would make him scared, he actually is much more motivated to go see this library and this hidden demon, and at night he goes to the underground library and notices two guards looking at them. So he uses his wind concealment magic. And he says that it is a magic that uses the flow from the air to refract the light and make the user invisible as he slowly walks towards the guards. One of them starts to yawn, and one of them tells his colleague not to let his guard down. After all, in this library there is a magic that could completely shake the kingdom, and in addition, there is also the powerful demon that was sealed there, and Lloyd is interested in it. But the guard says that, with all due respect, he doubts that there is a bandit who can break through his security. But the bandit is right by their side, and his colleague says that even if they manage to get through security, 10 wizards use their strongest magic to seal the entrance. So the entrance will be very complicated, but Lloyd simply breaks the magic with a snap of his fingers. And so he enters the library saying that he lived there for 10 years and had no idea that there was such an interesting session just below, and the boy soon gets distracted, choosing different books to read. And then he thinks that after leaving there, he will have to put a barrier back to lock the place. While he starts to read one of the first books, one grimoire moves and then starts to laugh, saying that he is surprised that he managed to break the silo on the door. So Lloyd simply asks who he is, and the book starts calling him a fool, saying that his name is Grimoire but present Grimoire. He asks if he could break his seal now that he has already broken the door. So Lloyd associates him with the demon of the forbidden book. So the demon starts to say that this magic that holds him will one day be broken because it is already worn out by time. He says that it would be a waste of time to continue there, and also tells the boy that, in exchange, he can give him as much gold as he wants, taking several nuggets of gold from his pocket. But Lloyd takes that gold and says that it is a creation magic from below level, and the demon already feels that he is not talking to the normal kid, and Lloyd asks if he turned pebbles into gold stones to trick him, and says that that gold is of low quality and has no resistance, and Lloyd also says that after studying, he will put the seal back after all. His study is about this kingdom, so he can't let a dangerous demon threaten this place. But the demon starts saying that the guys who sealed him are from hundreds of years ago. He no longer has any anger towards the people of this kingdom. But Lloyd says that it's not possible to believe it. So the demon tries to bargain again, saying that he can teach him ancient magic, a magic that was lost 100 years ago, if he lets him go. And this certainly gains Lloyd's curiosity, which he ends up becoming a little child, asking if the devil would teach him. And he says yes, and says that from what he can see, he seems to have talent with magic. He immediately remembers that scene he experienced before he was killed, and says that if talent really is important, he in fact has a more privileged body than the commoners. So the demon agrees, but criticizes the boy in his mind with himself. So Lloyd invokes a magic key and frees the demon's silo, and he is amazed at the boy's naivety. So Lloyd asks for him to teach magic straight away, and the demon remembers and raises his hand, throwing ancient magic at the boy, and a bunch of black flames start to appear in the library, and he calls it a dark shot and asks if the boy has learned it. And when is he getting ready to leave? All the magic is evaporated, and the boy appears down there with a shield, saying that that magic has such a unique composition and design. He says that even the way of casting it is different. He asks the demon to show him a little more of his magic for him, but it is possible. This prince is Tarpiso. The demon starts to get angry, telling the boy not to overestimate by casting several spells on the boy's defense, but after launching several magic balls, he starts to ask how that defense is so strong. After all, he is launching a lot of obscure shots, but the barrier doesn't even move, so the boy does a thorough search of the magic. He is casting, saying that the mana waves seem very simple. He finds all of this incredible and also says that he really wanted to understand her with his own body. He says that this is a bad habit of his and he might even die again. So he takes some of the magic using his finger. He starts to notice the rotation of the magic getting very close to his face and with his whole finger skinned. He says that it's beautiful, even though it hurts a lot, and when he turns off the magic, his finger is bleeding a lot, but he starts licking. It's saying that he wants to learn even more with Grimar. And so the demon becomes completely angry, invoking an even stronger magic to finish it off with the boy. But when he casts this magic, the boy starts to study, realizing that he synchronized 2 incantations for the magics. And he says that normally this is impossible. After all, this is a special type of conjuration that only a demon capable of having 2 mouths could use, and he realizes that it is a combination of 2 spells that can work together. However, this is all an advanced version of that shot he launched before. And when he sees that the boy is unharmed, the demon gets scared and says that it was really good to memorize all these countless formulas controlling the flow of mana, and also says that this greatly increased his wisdom. And when he looks at the boy and realizes that he still wants to know more, the demon tries to escape. However, a barrier stops him, so the demon starts to ask if he thought he would run away. But the boy says he put that barrier up because of you. After all, the castle is up there, and once he did something that wasn't so good, and then the demon tries to cast his magic again. But the boy says that he has already learned this, and says that now he will show you something. Then he starts to invoke a completely absurd magic all to attack the demon, telling him to now show him a defense magic. And so he launches the impetuous fireball, and the demon asks what mana that is. And to be when hit, the demon almost becomes a shirt print. And the boy goes down to him, asking why he didn't defend himself, and soon after Lloyd starts rebuilding the library, and the demon starts sucking up to the boy. But he says he's incredible, and he asks if it's true that he doesn't die by magic. He says no, but he still feels pain, and with that, the boy is tempted to find out how much he can handle. But the demon puts his tail between his legs, not wanting to know anything about it. And so he surrenders, saying that it can be used as a familiar, and the boy even thinks a little and ends up agreeing. But the demon tells him that he is seeing live with an experiment. So the boy says that he attracts a lot of attention in that form and asks if he can become something cooter and small. So he turns into a little sheep, and Lloyd calls him under his clothes. And the demon is all talking about how with this proximity he can control his mind or his body. But when he touches the boy, he is astonished. After all, the boy has ultra-dense mana, and he feels like he couldn't lay a finger on the boy, calling him a mana monster, talking until he's not human. And I see him shaking the boy, asks if he's okay. But he tries to hide it, thinking that for now it's better for him to be obedient and moral. What an absurd little boy. Besides being ultra-strong, he has some screws missing from his head. After all, they felt the magic in their own finger, feeling pain and licking. His blood is not something normal people do. I really hope that this boy continues like this and obliterate all your enemies. Let's keep watching episode 1. I'll post episode 2 next week on the same day, same time, and I'll see you in the next video. Lloyd uses the opportunity to read all the books in the Forbidden Library. Albert gets dressed for the day, and he proceeds to the library with the servants prostrating to him. Lloyd is reading some books in the library with Grimoire keeping him company. When Albert arrives at the door, Grimoire alerts Lloyd of Albert's presence as he opens the door, and Lloyd tells him to hide. Albert walks into the room, and Lloyd is so excited to see him that he raises his head too fast, which makes the book on his head fly into Albert's hand. Lloyd sits and watches enthusiastically as Albert prepares to practice at the testing range. He uses his fire magic to take down a target, to the amazement of the spectators. Lloyd applauds his effort, while Grimoire can't believe he gets to witness the second prince of the kingdom in action. Lloyd informs him that Albert is so smart and physically capable that people refer to him as the next potential king. This gives him authority to access various facilities in the castle, and Lloyd is always happy when Albert invites him to tag along because that's the only time he's allowed to use his magic. Lloyd gets off the bench and Albert informs him that it's his turn to have a go at the practice range. Lloyd walks over to the line, but he realizes that he shouldn't look so impressive, so people won't think he's in contention for the throne. All he wants to do is study magic without drawing anyone's attention to him. He decides to make his fireball graze all the targets instead of hitting them squarely, but Grimoire tells him people will notice that it is harder to pull off. Lloyd decides to stick to his idea, and he makes his fireballs graze the targets. Everyone applauds his effort, but one of them teases him for only being able to graze the target. Grimoire is pissed by this because he knows it's harder to make the fireballs graze the target. Meanwhile, Lloyd is accessing the pros and cons of his technique, and Grimoire realizes he's addicted to magic knowledge. Albert decides to take a break, and he leaves Lloyd at the practice range to let loose the servants follow Albert, which makes Lloyd delighted to have the whole gallery to himself. He decides to try out so many ideas that he has been holding in. Grimoire wonders what he'll try, and Lloyd tells him he's going to try out his double incantation. Magic Grimoire tries to deter him because only demons can do the double incantation trick. Since they have two mouths, Lloyd decides to absorb Grimoire into his hand, but he's surprised it works. Grimoire doesn't feel comfortable being assimilated into Lloyd's body. Lloyd decides to try and sync up with him so they can cast an advanced fire spell. Lloyd wonders if Grimoire can cast it, and Grimoire reminds him that advanced spells are child's play to him. Because he's a demon, Lloyd realizes he'll be able to cast it, and they begin casting it together. They barely say the full incantation before Grimoire gets sick. Lloyd wonders what's wrong with him, and Grimoire tells him he should be the one questioning his actions. He wonders what incantation Lloyd is saying, and Lloyd tells him it was a spell stack. Spell stacking is a way of abbreviating spells that require incantations to reduce their cast time. He explains to Grimoire that he was trying to cast 100 spells at once, using that methodology. Grimoire is surprised by this because spell stacking doesn't work that way. He reminds Lloyd that a single spell stack can only comprise a maximum of 3 spells at once. Lloyd is bummed out because it would take an eternity to cast the incantation of the spell he wants. Lloyd decides to take over Grimoire's mouth on his palm, but he also tries out his own to make sure he can talk through both. At the same time, Grimoire wonders if he's about to try out 2 advanced spell incantations at the same time, but Lloyd shuts him up because he needs his mouth. He begins casting the incantation, while Grimoire wonders how he's able to cast 2 different advanced spells. At the same time, he realizes that Lloyd is folding 2 forms of magic, and he's impressed by Lloyd's mana reserve. Grimoire keeps observing Lloyd as he does the double incantation, but he realizes the spell will be too powerful to point at anything, let alone a target. Casting the incantation, and a powerful beam is cast upwards. The beam is so powerful that it catches the attention of everyone in the kingdom. Prince Albert's attendants wonder why he gives Lloyd so much attention, and Albert realizes they don't have an eye for talent. He tells them that Lloyd made his fireball graze all the targets in the same way intentionally, which makes him a magic protogen. He tells them Lloyd could become a great sage one day, which will make him a vital asset to his future. The attendants aren't surprised. He wants a great sage in his service since he could be the king in the future. Albert tells them he just wants to get along with his little brother. He tells them his brother should have taken down the targets in the training room by now, but his attendant tells him they're exaggerating. He looks out the window and he sees the sky is dark. He wonders why the sun is already setting at noon. Meanwhile, Grimoire is shaking in his books, in their case, his hands as he looks at the result of Lloyd's spell. He's surprised. His spell blew a hole in the sky to change it from noon to white. Lloyd marvels in his work before he realizes what he has done. He hastily dispels his spell so the sky can return to normal. Grimoire wonders what Lloyd is made of, while Lloyd is glad he was able to revert his spell. The next day, Grimoire picks up the daily papers and he reads the story about the blast in the sky made by Lloyd. He informs Lloyd about the story, but another story catches his eyes. He tells Grimoire about the story of a ranked adventuring companies clearing difficult dungeons and collecting treasures. He's enchanted by the treasure the adventurers get, and he decides to head out to a dungeon. He begins walking like a hypnotized zombie. Grimoire does his best to stop him to no avail. Grimoire tells him everyone in the castle will freak out if he goes missing, but Lloyd tells him there's nothing a little magic can't solve. He shows Grimoire an acorn, and he uses a plant last spell to form a replica of himself. Grimoire is impressed by this, but Lloyd decides to flex more and show Grimoire how sophisticated the replica is. Grimoire is convinced Lloyd will be able to slip out of the castle since he has such a good replica. Lloyd tells him his issue with using the replica is fooling Swap. He remembers when she told him he grew by 0.7 which surprised him. Grimoire is also surprised by how attentive she is, and Lloyd tells him he won't be able to fool her with a replica that dances like a dummy. He decides to make Grimoire inhabit the replica while he leaves the castle. He successfully escapes the castle, and he decides to play a call across to Grimoire. For some reason, his magical call requires a phone signal, but let's not talk about that. He asks Grimoire how things are looking on his end, and Grimoire tells him he's doing his best to represent him. The maids stare at Lloyd through the door, surprised that he's paying attention to his looks for the first time. Grimoire realizes that Lloyd's idea to transfer his consciousness to his replica was ingenious. Lloyd tells him to watch out for Silpha while doing his best impression of him. Grimoire checks out the replica he's inhabiting, and he's surprised that it has monarch circulation. He immediately gets an idea, and he realizes that he can do whatever he wants. Now that Lloyd is out of the picture, he smiles like a maniac as he thinks about all the things he can do. Lloyd suddenly calls out to him and tells him he's counting on him to do his best. Grimoire is so touched by this that he's too stunned to speak. Lloyd calls out to him again, and Grimoire tells him that he'll do his best till he gets back. Lloyd keeps flying, but he looks around and he stops, though he was able to leave the castle without trouble. He realizes that he has no idea where to find a dungeon. He stays levitating, trying to think about his next move when he suddenly notices some movement on the ground. Mr. Lady is being chased by some orcs, and Grimoire informs him that someone is in danger. The lady suddenly stops and she turns around to face the orcs. She takes them down easily under seconds, and Lloyd realizes she's a martial artist from her battle style. He notices her breathing technique and he's impressed by it. The lady stands triumphantly over the orcs and she tells them to try their luck again. In another 100 years, Lloyd remembers a book that talked about people in foreign countries who channel their inner energy, called Kai, to create incredible techniques. The lady notices Lloyd hiding from her and she calls out to him. Lloyd is surprised. She was able to notice him from such a far distance, but he decides to meet her and ask her about her techniques and dungeons. Grimoire tells him that the lady may recognize him as the Seventh Prince. If he goes out to meet her, since the lady doesn't get a response from Lloyd, she decides to take him as her enemy. She rushes at him to attack him, but Lloyd hastily changes his appearance. She comes up to Lloyd and he introduces himself as Robert, a rookie adventurer. He created an illusion from a mixture of his image and his brother's image to create an authentic appearance. The lady introduces herself to him as an AB rank adventurer and a martial artist. Lloyd wonders if she suspects his disguise, but Grimoire tells him the illusion is perfect. Meanwhile, Tao is falling head over heels for Robert because no male has paid her any attention since she left her dojo. She was glad she finally found someone interesting, and she decided to make Lloyd her boyfriend, even if hell has to freeze over. Lloyd tells her he wanted them to explore a dungeon together, but if she doesn't feel like it, he'll find someone else. She immediately tells him they can explore a dungeon together, and they head over to a dungeon entrance immediately. They enter the dungeon, and Tao takes down several monsters, trying to impress Lloyd, but he's more interested in the glowing rocks scattered all over the cave floor. It must have felt bad that a male was more interested in smooth rocks than he was in her. They move deeper into the cave, and Lloyd wonders why Tao is adventuring alone, and she tells him she hasn't found suitable comrades. Yet they take a break inside the dungeon to prepare some refreshments, and Lloyd asks her about her Kai technique. Tao is surprised. He knows about Kai since not many people know about the technique on his continent. He tells her that Kai is just like mana for sorcerers, and he also tells her he noticed her breathing technique. She tells him that the breathing technique is fundamental to Kai mastery, which allows a human to gain explosive power. She tells him that it takes time to hone breathing techniques, but she looks at him surprised to see that he's practicing the breathing technique. He suddenly chokes, and Tao tells him he can't practice the breathing techniques carelessly because he could hurt himself. Lloyd noticed that he felt an energy force different from his mana, and he realizes he can use the energy to increase his magic power. Sta decides to teach him more about the Kai technique, and he thanks her for the free tutelage. Her heart suddenly skips a beat, but she sternly tells Lloyd to keep up his breathing technique to hide her reaction. Grimoire can't believe that Lloyd cares about nothing other than learning magic. He's about to have some desert when Silpha suddenly shows up behind him, which surprises him. Tay demonstrates a Kai blast to Lloyd as she takes down a gray wolf, which she thinks is the boss of the dungeon. She tells him they can now open the chest of the dungeon, but she warns him that the treasure may be underdeveloped because the dungeon isn't high level. Lloyd is intrigued by the system of the dungeon and notices this. They approach the chest and Tao notices that Lloyd has almost fully mastered the breathing technique. She's glad she got herself a keeper, and she's sure even her strict grandpa would approve of Lloyd. She decides to do her best to make sure that Lloyd remains by her side. But Lloyd is more interested in the opening of the chest than her delusive thoughts. Taya opens the chest and she's almost sliced in half by an energy blade. But Lloyd saves her as the blade cuts through the dungeon floor, where she was standing a moment before a lick rises up menacingly from beneath the chest, which surprises Tao. But Lloyd is hyped to face a new boss. As his eyes glow with anticipation, watch this next video. See you on the next one. Our episode starts with Robert and Tao facing a giant monster. Tao is very tense, and Robert asks her what type of creature the monster is. Tao tells him not to worry and advises him to leave, but Robert refuses and says he wants to see what the monster will do. Tao approaches the monster, uses her magic to throw it outside, apologizes, and then we see the monster preparing to attack Tao. It uses its magic to launch sharp blades at her, but Tao manages to dodge all its attacks. She kicks one of its attacks, breaking it, and wonders to herself how a low-level demon like Demise could possess such power and something terrifying like the leech creature. Even elite adventurers can barely face it evenly. Tao decides to buy enough time for Robert to escape. The scene shifts to Robert throwing himself outside and pondering about Tao's actions and wanting to know more about the key and also about Demise. Then a magical circle appears around Robert, helping him to stop, and he wonders if he should go back to Tao despite her throwing him away. He asks his rival, but the rival doesn't respond, surprising Robert. He looks at the rival again, who finally tells him to return home immediately. Robert is shocked by his words, and then the scene shifts back to Tao, who is still fighting the monster. She realizes the monster is too strong and that she can't defeat it. She's about to die. She decides to retreat slowly when suddenly the monster speaks and asks about key techniques in astonishment. Tao is shocked to hear the monster speak to her. It tells her that she possesses a strange art, having consumed someone with similar abilities in the past, but ultimately it was just a rudimentary form of magic. The monster explains that it's accustomed to consuming the souls of adventurers to gain their wisdom and skills. However, it deems Tao unworthy of consumption, but expresses a desire to eat the person with her, referring to Robert. But Tao tells the monster that she and Robert are different. While they both pursue battles, she feels he can find something intriguing about a pebble on the road, which genuinely delights her. She mentions that people on the continent consider key techniques as a primitive martial art, but Robert said he was amazed. Tao exhales air and attacks the monster, but it uses its magic, creating a magical circle to protect itself from Tao's attacks. The monster informs her that her attacks are ineffective, angering Tao greatly. She strikes the magical sphere repeatedly until she manages to break it, saying, "Don't mess with me." She tells the monster that she has consumed a lot of key energy and can't keep this up, unable to move. The monster mocks her for wasting her time and energy. It then uses a spell called Mortisicora, dropping a glass panel on Tao, seemingly killing her. However, the glass barrier suddenly shatters, revealing Robert, much to Tao's surprise. Robert tells her that he will take over, though he's in a hurry. Tao asks why he's here and what's the magical sphere protecting them. We then see Robert using air magic, surprising both Tao and the monster with his power. Mr. Monster wonders what barrier Robert is setting up, finding it very sturdy. Robert says they almost understand everything and then instructs them to breathe better, inhaling air to speed up the enemy's spell. After inhaling a lot of air, Robert tells the monster it's natural to seek escape. Then the skeletal structure uses the leech's full power and aims towards the barrier. Meanwhile, Robert also uses his power, but the barrier obstructs him at that moment. Finally, the barrier shatters, making the skeletal structure happy because it can now see its limits. It then uses its full power on him, surrounding him from all directions. However, Robert grabs onto the top of the rock and propels himself with great force, leaping from rock to rock at maximum speed, inhaling more air to convert more ki energy, a spell he always does. He then takes the mana and ki and mixes them together, forming a very large sphere that in turn breaks the enemy's attacks. He is surprised by this, but couldn't reach it because she was weak. so she must rise above that to penetrate and move quickly. Robert then creates two very large spheres again and directs them at the leech, but the skeletal structure easily intercepts them. The matter is not yet settled as Robert is very fast and uses more spells on him. He is having a lot of fun and laughs hard because he enjoys doing this, surprising the skeletal structure, which says, "What is this? What is this power?" He attacks with extreme speed without magic. Are these QI techniques impossible? How can simple QI techniques be equivalent to my magic? Robert then uses the most precise and powerful sphere to cut the leech and eliminate it immediately. 2-0 is very happy because he has easily defeated the skeletal structure. They then look inside the box and find the old dagger, and feeling very sad and saying, "This was a waste of time. All this trouble, and in the end, this old dagger is what we get. How I wished it was a great treasure, but thank God for everything." Robert says to her, "I think it's saturated with mana. It's not an ordinary dagger." She tells him she doesn't mind him taking the dagger, and suddenly something very strange happens. The place starts collapsing. This always happens as soon as the treasure is taken. The Demas collapses. He tells her, "I understand now, the treasure box is essentially the core of what we call Demas." Then he pulls it out of the ground before it can swallow him and tries repeatedly, but the task is very difficult. Then he smiles and says, "Oh, Tao, how amazing this is, what a strange survival instinct." She tells him to shut up, calling him stupid, that it's collapsing, and they might die at this time. Robert then lifts the box upwards, but sharp teeth start falling from everywhere. The scene shifts when they find themselves outside the Demas, which has completely closed. Robert tells her that this is how it will continue, gathering strength underground until after a while, the Demas reappears. Tao says to him, "Robert, you are amazing. You fought bravely, but why did you fight in the end with QI techniques instead of magic? Did you do this for me because he used to mock me?" Robert stands up and tells her that he thought it would be enjoyable. Robert then stands up and tells her that he thought it would be very enjoyable, but suddenly remembers that he must return home quickly. She asks Tao about the thing he released in the end, what it is, as it was her secret QI shot technique, but she couldn't even use it. Then she tells him that she will train more and more to become an amazing girl. Robert is happy with her words and tells her that whether it's magic or QI techniques, working on improving oneself is always enjoyable, and they must improve together. Tao is very happy and decides to train herself more and more to become a girl who can catch his attention. And she called out to him very loudly, asking him how he could reach her. But Robert didn't answer her and returned home, entering his room from the window, where he found his rival lying on the ground from exhaustion and fatigue because of their servant. She had beaten him because he was too weak, as she would toughen her heart to retrain him from scratch as he didn't even have a chance, despite being a demon. Then we go back to the scene when Robert was in the Demise with Tao, where he put a lot of things in his bag, astonishing Tao. She doesn't know how his bag can hold all of that. Robert tells her that this bag has a magical enchantment of spatial type that can freely enhance the internal space of any type of bag. Then we see Robert in his room, where he empties the bag of everything in it. Among these things is this small sword, which angers his assistant because he was delayed in returning home due to such a trivial knife. Robert answers him that it is a very amazing treasure. First, they immerse the knife in hot water, then scrape the surface of the knife to extract this thing, which is the catalyst used for the enchantment magic. It is found in any sword to strengthen it, so Robert understands that the knife has been enchanted with the strengthening power. And his friend asks him if he can study the enchantment magic or not. Robert answers that studying this magic is not that simple because this was the essence of the mana used on the knife. The essence of mana is hard to come by and enchantment spells are hard to perform. So if they fail, both the essence and the weapon will be wasted. That's why Robert will analyze the essence of mana and make some magic for himself. Then Robert uses the purification spell to purify the dirty water. If he continues to raise the purity levels, he can even separate all the key elements. Indeed, the elements of this water are found to be oil, silver, and hematite. He thinks for a moment and understands that this is made from crushing a monster's core, which is also very rare. Then he looks at the box he brought from the Demas and realizes that he has the Demas' core, so he can make some through it. This means he needs oil, silver, and a lot of weapons. We then move to the king, Robert's father, where his son goes to him and asks for silver coins suitable for his work. His father asks if he's sure he doesn't want gold coins, and Robert tells him he doesn't need them, as silver coins are very suitable for him. He takes what he needs from his father and returns to his workshop. His father doesn't understand what Robert wants to do with these silver coins. Next, Robert goes to his workshop and puts all the silver coins in the fire. After that, in the garden, we see the maid training Robert. He tries to defeat her to take the oil he wants, but he couldn't do anything. Robert trains with Sylvia, and she becomes stronger than him, disappearing somewhere under this small statue, and Robert doesn't know where she is. Suddenly, she strikes him with the sword, causing Robert to scream and destroy the small statue. Then he tells her that she won, and after that, we see Robert holding this thing and asking her if she's sure. She remembers that the agreement was that he had to hit her with a blow during their humorous battle to get the oil. Sylvia answers that she's very happy, but wondered why he performed weakly that day. She thinks to herself, remembering Robert's fight with her, possessing a skill like this with magic and a sword at the age of 10 could make Prince Lloyd a knight commander when he grows up, and he might become very strong to be a master swordsman. Then Robert asks for her permission and quickly leaves, saying, "I'll show you when I'm done." She wishes that whatever he cooks will be delicious. Robert enters this room and starts preparing, saying silver to oil along with hematite. We get the mana essence. The scene then shifts to Prince Al talking to Robert, saying, "Do you want a stock of weapons to test the enchantment magic on them? It's very funny that you ask me for this. You love magic a lot." Robert answers, "Yes, there are many royal guards who serve you." Then Prince Al asks the guards if any of his brothers want to enhance the power of their weapons. They all respond in unison, "Yes, definitely," and they leave all the swords they had with them. After that, the rival says to Robert, "Very motivated, we will enchant these cursed weapons and make them unbeatable weapons." Then Robert tries the enchantment on the first sword, applying 2 layers and 3 layers as well, filling every point he can with enchanting formulas, but the sword breaks. Robert says, "I messed up. The steel couldn't handle the enchantments I added to it." He tries the rest of the swords, failing with some and succeeding with others. In the morning, he goes to Prince Al, who is amazed that out of 120 weapons, only 50 succeeded. Robert apologizes, saying, "In the end, I wasted 70, but in reality, 80 succeeded until I tried adding other enchantments to some." The prince sees the first sword, saying that the success rate of the primary enchantment is about 10. He finds it unbelievable and thinks Lloyd might be more talented than expected. The guards take the swords and laugh at him. One of them suggests that maybe the prince gave up because 70 weapons were ruined and puts one in its sheath, but it breaks due to the sword's strength. Prince Al sees this sword and is astonished. Robert tells him that he hoped to see it used in battle if possible. The prince asks if he wants to accompany them. His father gave him a mission to hunt a monster. Robert is surprised by what he hears, and so today's episode ends. Stay tuned for the next episodes, but don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell to receive all the latest updates. The episode begins with Prince Lloyd heading out to hunt the monster with his brother Prince Albert and the maid Silva. On their way, Lloyd asks the maid about the monster's whereabouts in the forest. She tells him she heard it's by the lake, farther along the path. Lloyd is very happy to be out hunting, as it's rare for him to leave the castle. He also wants to show off his finely crafted weapons. Albert talks to the maid, noting her constant vigilance over Lloyd. She explains she's Lloyd's teacher and personal guardian. Suddenly, Silva draws her sword, startling Albert. She informs them they have visitors, an attack from the enemy. The enemy, consisting of numerous kobold knights, surrounds Lloyd and Albert to protect. Lloyd realizes he sensed the enemy's presence before their attack, thanks to a key technique taught to him by Tao, which allows him to sense his surroundings constantly. Then we see the knights fighting bravely, wielding powerful steel swords that cut through the monsters easily. Lloyd is overjoyed because his enchantment spell was highly successful. Then the remaining monster attempted to attack Lloyd, but Tao intervened at the right moment, killing it with one of her strikes. She then explained to Lloyd that she sensed the presence of the monster, which prompted her to rush to their aid. Lloyd is surprised by her sudden appearance, almost calling her by her guise as Robert. He didn't expect her to show up at such a time. Tao then asks Lloyd if he breathes in the Ki way as she sensed Robert's presence, and his method closely resembles his. Silva, the servant, angrily tells Tao not to be so casual with the prince and not to speak so freely with him. Tao, in anger, explains that she did so because she felt him calling her through Ki techniques. Prince Albert tries to diffuse the tension between them to prevent a quarrel. He then suggests that Tao join them on the way to the lake. At night, the prince and his companions camp by the lake, where Prince Albert introduces Tao to Lloyd, revealing his identity as the second prince of the Salome kingdom. Tao is surprised by this revelation and apologizes for her rudeness. She's amazed that Prince Albert and Robert are so alike, but doesn't think he's the handsome man who called out to her earlier. She continues to search for Lloyd, but doesn't find him. Meanwhile, Lloyd hides behind the tent, contemplating using spectral sensing key negatively affects him. He didn't expect Tao to be so sensitive. When Silva finds Tayo searching for Prince Lloyd and reprimands her for her inappropriate behavior, Lloyd walks away, leaving them behind, but encounters his brother Albert. He tells him that Silva has changed a lot since she started taking care of him. Then we return to Silva and Toya. Toya tells Silva that she was hired to repair an old shrine located at the top of the hill, which Lloyd overhears as they converse. Silva tells Toya that she must leave now, angering Toya once again. She orders her not to speak to her in that manner. Just then, Albert and Lloyd arrive. Albert mentions the danger of going alone and the usefulness of Tayo's ability to sense threats. He asks if she minds staying with their group until morning to act as a lookout. Suddenly, Tao senses the presence of a monster nearby, and indeed, the creature quickly appears, attempting to attack them. Lloyd remembers when he tried to enchant his knight's swords, but they easily broke. The small monster says, "I'm sure this is an enchanted sword. It must belong to Albert. Perhaps he got confused among the others. Let's put it aside. I'm sure he realized I would get tired of working only on steel swords," as he tosses it aside as an addition. Lloyd paints on the sword, saying, "I can still add a little more," but then the sword explodes. The small demon tells him, "I tried to warn you, and in the end, it was a peaceful outcome in a good way." At night, a wolf appears before Albert and the guards. A guard warns them to be careful and keep their distance, waiting for an opportunity. The wolf attacks, and Albert remarks that despite their size, wolves are fast. Tao uses her magic on the wolf, and Albert uses his sword, saying, "This isn't personal, but the local villagers suffer because of you." He unleashes his power and defeats the wolf with a single blow. The guards cheer, saying, "What a feat! Such fiery power, defeated with just one shot." Albert remarked that usually, they wouldn't have that much power, but it was possible because of the enchantment Lloyd used. He then thanked Lloyd for what he did. Lloyd commented that the additional enchantment on Albert's enchanted sword seemed to have worked. Later that night, the cat spoke to Lloyd, saying that previously, that place atop the hill might have a sealed demon. They see the monster awaken again, and Albert is astonished, wondering why the monster they defeated is still standing and where the reinforcements came from. The monster speaks to them, saying, "How dare you harm one of my followers? I am the demon Bazuzu, and you will pay for your sins with your lives." Then Tao reveals there's a demon inside his mouth. The demon attacks them, and Albert and Tao try to fight back, but nothing seems to affect it. Tao comments that it's a big problem. They regenerate immediately. Albert adds that even wolves aren't affected because they're different from the bear's wolves they encountered before. He believes that the demon controlling them is behind this. Lloyd tells his little demon friend that Bazuzu is the demon sealed in that shrine, who managed to escape, and they're both demons. "Do you know him from before?" The little demon says he doesn't know him, but explains how Bazuzu manipulates mana to control the monsters, similar to controlling puppets. Lloyd asks the little demon to teach him mana manipulation, and Tayo asks Silva to help. However, the little demon hesitates, saying it's not the right time, as others are fighting and their lives are at stake. The demon mocks them, calling them very weak despite some having skills, but the rest are worthless, only saved by their weapons, plus a pitiful baby. Silva approaches the demon, who asks if she's decided to abandon the worthless pup and her service, offering to welcome her into his followers. Silva retorts that his stench is so foul that her nose almost falls off. Perhaps the real problem lies in the stupid monkey prince's breath polluting the pure air. So she'll kill him. "Spear demon you burned has fully healed as long as I convert my mana to them. My followers will renew endlessly. Don't think my mana will run out. Demons also have unlimited mana. Don't bother no matter how much you cry. It's not just the smell. Your breath is also disgusting. I want you to stop talking." The monster attacks Silva, but she disappears and cuts off the demon's legs. The demon falls, and all the monsters stop moving. Albert and everyone are astonished. Albert explains that the demon is focusing its mana on renewing its wolf bear. When that demon is injured and greatly affected, we'll have a chance to defeat them all. The leader calls on Silva to inflict as much damage as possible to the demon until they can join her at the right time. But the wicked demon looks at her and says, "You won't be able to do anything, you foolish one." Then we see Lloyd's friend, Robert, teaching him how to convert his mana. It's a very delicate task, And there must be something that Bazuzu excels at because he has mana tailored to control monsters, helping him maintain control over them. This isn't an easy task, even for a demon. Then we see Robert experimenting with this. His friend tells him he can start with the basics. He used to just extinguish mana's color, and then he'd shape it and add scents. But Robert quickly finishes, having turned the mana into beautiful flowers and added a scent. His friend marvels at how he made it perfect so quickly, calling him very clever. Then we see Silva fighting the cursed demon and borrowing a soldier's cutting sword for just a few minutes. Then she looks at the sword and says, "These swords have been enchanted by Prince Lloyd or Robert." When the devil sees them, enchanted by that kid Lloyd, he tells himself, "I'm going to kill this kid and dissect him piece by piece." He swiftly wraps around her while she stays still, then attacks her, devouring her in his mouth until he can tear her apart. Then she thrusts the sword into his body, splitting him in half. She flies into the air using dual blade technique to finish off the demon because he's still breathing and alive. They tell her, "You're just a naughty servant," but she retaliates, plunging her sword into his left eye, then pulling it out from his sheltered body. She strikes him again with the dual blade technique, a powerful blow. Everyone watches Silva, shocked by her immense strength as she threatens the damn demon. "You won't even touch a hair on Prince Lloyd. My rage has consumed you completely, you fool. The only thing you'll feel now is the wrath of my teacher's sword." See what happens in the next intense confrontation. Stay tuned for the next episode, but tell us your thoughts on this episode. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button to spread the video, and encourage us to release more videos. Our episode begins with Silva standing before the demon who is submissive to her. She tells him it's better for him to surrender, and the monster laughs. Meanwhile, as his followers attack, we see Tao and Albert using their magic to defeat the monsters. Albert then tells them that it's not enough. They must also defeat the demon to prevent its resurgence. He orders everyone to move to assist Silva. Since something strange happens. Albert faints and falls to the ground while Tao puts her hands to her nose and says, "This is bad." We also see Silva fall, and the demon says, "It's been more than a century since the seal of the shrine was broken. It took me time to nurture those followers of mine, only for you to come and defeat them. You wretched one with your sword." He then becomes very angry and attacks Silva, throwing her into the river. Albert tries to gather his strength to stand up but fails. The demon tells Silva that anyone who breathes this air will fall under his control because it's contaminated with his dominance. As he attacks her again, Tao suddenly appears before him, rescuing Silva. She asks if Silva can stand up, to which Silva shakily replies, I'm fine, and tells her to hide her face. This angers Tao greatly, and she tells her to stop lying, insisting that if she can move, she should escape quickly. Silva tells her that if she can escape, she should run to Prince Lloyd quickly. The demon comments on Silva's strength, impressed that despite breathing his contaminated air, she still dares to challenge him. Even his monsters have been subdued in just 30 seconds. Suddenly, he approaches Tao and asks her why she isn't under his control. When Tao kicks him with her leg, the demon grabs her by the leg. He tells her, "I understand. You're using some strange breathing technique that allows you to filter out the contaminated air you breathe. That's why you could have escaped, as you're still able to move." Tao clenches her teeth and tells him, "Go to hell, you fool." Then she uses the Thunderquake pulse magic, causing a massive explosion. She tells herself to maintain her breath stability before the demon launches another attack, and she must protect the handsome boy, referring to Prince Lloyd. Suddenly, the monster emerges from the sea, grabbing Tao between its jaws. The demon asks her, "Who is this handsome one you speak of?" "I see nothing but a pile of trash scattered on the ground, pitiful to look at while my beloved followers rise one by one." He then releases more contaminated air and tells her he wants her to be one of his followers, to serve him and dedicate her life to him. Tao retorts that she wasn't wrong, as he was always close by. The suffocating air with its repulsiveness still makes her feel alive, giving her courage. She adds that the handsome person is coming to defeat him now. The monster swallows her and the demon spits, saying, "These humans are indeed pitiful, such lively creatures yet so incapable of understanding my powerful magic. But it's up to this girl claiming to be Silva to pay the price and become one of my followers. It may take some time to control her, but her strength is worth the cost. I'll drown her in my suffocating air and let her work as my servant until she dies." Then we see Lloyd standing beside him, saying, "So this is how you tame wolves and bears as well." The demon confirms, mentioning how he killed their fathers and used his suffocating air as a replacement in their minds. Despite being their killer, no one can defy his dominance. Then, to his surprise, he looks at Lloyd and asks, "Wait a moment, you mischievous boy. How can you move amidst my suffocating air? Can you really pass through my contaminated air so easily?" Then he looks at Grim and angrily asks him, "Aren't you a demon in reality? Why are you protecting that little boy? I've never heard of a demon protecting a human before. It's quite amusing. You're a disgrace to our kind." Grime becomes very angry and tells him, "Listen, you brute, and take advice from a demon like you." Then he retracts his advice and says, "I want to see you chopped into pieces." This angers the demon greatly, and he orders his followers to kill Grime. As the demon's followers attack, Lloyd decides to use his mana and transforms the area around him into beautiful flowers, gaining control over the demon's followers and making them submissive to him instead of the demon. The demon is extremely surprised and wonders how Lloyd managed to turn all his mana into a field of flowers in the blink of an eye. He then releases more contaminated air to regain control over his monster followers. Grime tells him that they have already awakened, "O demon, but remember your truth and the truth of your killing their fathers." The monster attacks the demon, freeing Silva from his grasp. The demon then uses his power to attack the monsters and defeats them all. He looks at Lloyd and tells him that no matter how many spells he uses, he cannot face a powerful demon like him, at least not like that. Meanwhile, Pazuzu expresses his despair, stating that this is what happens when he stops supplying them with mana, as he will now use his true power. We see Lloyd using his tremendous power and wondering what it would take to kill one of them. The demon is surprised by Lloyd's power and remembers the reason why mana didn't affect him, as he was studying in some books and learning how to use his true power. Back to reality, he tells him that his suffocating aura or those abilities won't affect Lloyd and his friend. He thinks to himself about some spells he wanted to try. However, Pazuzu knows that Lloyd can unleash his power without restrictions. When Pazuzu sees Lloyd's mana, he almost goes mad from Lloyd's true power. And he says, "What is this? Is this a nightmare that I must solve? What is this tremendous power?" Then Lloyd uses his power on the demon, causing the demon to flee quickly. But Lloyd had him in his sights, so he used those orbs in a certain way to bind and completely exhaust him. That's what happened, my friends, indeed. We see Pazuzu completely exhausted, gasping for breath, but no one congratulates him on it. Instead, we see Lloyd once again experimenting with spells on him, as if he were a rat in experiments. Grime then grants him his power and imbues it into his hand, making the spell stronger than ever before. Lloyd then forces Pazuzu to flee rapidly in all directions, but there's no escape as Lloyd traps him in his card, now trapped inside it like a mosquito in a small ball. Pazuzu calls out to him, begging to be released, unable to bear it anymore. However, Lloyd tells him, "No, my friend, I can't just release you so easily. You've hurt many and killed many. You were experimenting with chimeras on other monsters, and many of them suffered as well, so stop trying to escape. You won't get away from me easily." Lloyd then uses his rapid casting technique, causing Pazuzu to plead, as he wants to become the king of demons, offering to release him at any cost, whether he desires wealth, women, children, or power. But the other doesn't respond, and Lloyd uses 240 spells on him in a single minute. Lloyd was very pleased with this and said, "Let's keep this up for 30 minutes. After only 10 minutes, we see Pazuzu has become a skeletal structure, but he hasn't died yet. He says, "In reality, I spent a century. All my suffering was to raise those monsters. I was going to rule the world, so how could I fail so easily and fall immediately?" At that moment, we see everyone waking up after their long sleep induced by the drug Pazuzu dispersed in the air. Then we see Grime heading towards Pazuzu and speaking to him, saying, "From what I know, Pazuzu, people don't follow leaders who are constantly falling apart. How much they've suffered to reach where they are? They'll probably have a good time with someone who loves fun and entertainment. On the contrary, this boy does whatever he pleases and however he wants. Perhaps that's why people flock to him and love him in that way. He's a kind-hearted person who loves people and helps everyone." The little demon, Grime, said, "I'm gathering my strength so I can take revenge someday." Pazuzu replied, "You've lost because I didn't enjoy it as I should have in this state. I blame my ambition." Then Pazuzu disappears, turning into air, and Grime consumes him. Grime says, "I accept you. You've regained a little with your mana." Then Lloyd says, "This sorcerer, Robert, appeared and defeated the demon, saving us all." The next day, Lloyd and Albert return to the city, where a grand celebration awaits them for defeating the monster, led by Robert. Robert suggests Lloyd and Albert should arrange the matter for a chariot instead. People talk about Prince Lloyd as being very charming and kind, which angers Silva when she hears it. They arrive at the palace and the prince speaks, saying, "Albert, when you kill a demon, you must deal with the monster assigned to you. As the second prince, you should seek my approval to go along with your royal guards only." Albert replies that he has no excuse for that. Then he asks about the adventurers, Tayo and Robert. He's told that Robert disappeared until they could regain consciousness. As for Tao, she caught up with Robert before he could be thanked. The king says that both of them saved everyone, and he's interested in the strength of this sorcerer named Robert. Albert adds that Lloyd contributed greatly to the hunting operation. We should consider Lloyd as part of the royal succession. We survived the monsters without casualties thanks to his mesmerizing magic, which he used on our weapons. I believe his talents, perseverance, and accomplishments make him suitable for the throne. The king said, "Won't this create another competitor for you? Tell him he wasn't the best choice for ruling the kingdom. The decision must be made in the kingdom's favor, and I doubt the wisdom behind his isolation due to his young age. Nevertheless, I don't intend for him to surpass you." The king asked Lloyd, "Will you join the competition and stand beside your brothers, seeking the throne?" Lloyd replied, "I refuse," with all humility. After that, we see a Lloyd playing with the wolf and holding it. He said, "I didn't expect any of the wolf bears to follow us home. They've become more affectionate and playful." This angers Grime, who says, "Why didn't I get this treatment?" He goes to them, and Lloyd tells him that the mana tamed him completely. Lloyd then tells him, "You're fluffy too." He tells him that the rest of the wolf bears have settled due to mana, so he doesn't think they'll pose a threat. Silva speaks, saying, "It's clear that he's drawn to you, Lloyd," he replied. "Yes, I've also given him a name, Shiro, because of his color," she said. "That's a very logical choice." Lloyd asked her, "I want instructions on many things. What's the best way to convey what I want to him?" She told him that complex commands are among the expertise of monster tamers, and she heard that they can control monsters through This seems entertaining. "I should try it," Lloyd said. Grime remarked that all he cares about is magic. He's a real magic enthusiast. Silva assured him, "I'm sure you'll be able to do it." Prince Albert mentioned that you won't have a problem taming monsters. Then we see the king talking to Albert, saying, "That boy is very humble." Albert replied that the position of king might just be a secondary role for him. And that's how today's episode ends. Stay tuned for the next episodes, so don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell to receive all the updates.
Today's episode of Prince Lloyd begins with Lloyd and his servant Silva attempting to train a wolf. Lloyd instructs the wolf to sit, and it obeys, much to Silva's delight. However, when Lloyd asks the wolf to stand, it does so, confusing the wolf. While simple commands are easy for the wolf to grasp, more complex instructions, like turning 3 times, and barking at different speeds with subtle variations, leave it bewildered. Lloyd tries to write a spell in his mana to communicate the commands better, but fails to make the wolf understand. Seeing the wolf's confusion, Silva considers seeking help from a monster expert. Princess Alice, Lloyd's sister, comes to mind as she has a keen interest in animals and keeps various creatures in her garden tower. Lloyd and Silva visit Alice in the tower, where they discover her passion for animals goes beyond just cats and dogs to include lizards, birds, and even monsters. Alice rushes to Lloyd excitedly, asking why he's there. However, when she sees the wolf, she understands it's about Lloyd's cute bear-like wolf. Lloyd is surprised that Alice identified the wolf species at first glance. He introduces Alice as the 6th princess of Salome, his elder sister by 3 years. Alice, affectionately calling the wolf Shiro, expresses her belief that her mana might be connected to the situation. Silva suggests leaving as she doubts Alice's ability to comprehend mana or teach them how to communicate with monsters. However, Lloyd refuses to leave, wanting to give Alice a chance. Then Alice is asked to show them her special monsters. So she summons this beautiful horse called Lero, the Lesser Fenrir, which is the highest rank of wolf bears. Lloyd realizes what this monster did when it managed to take Silva's hair tie without anyone noticing. When they were turning their backs to him, Alice requested him to steal Silva's hair tie without anyone noticing, and then wait. What Lloyd doesn't know is whether this was at his sister's command or not. However, he wonders how she could issue such complex commands without showing any signs. He then asks his sister to teach him this. He wants to be able to communicate with Shiro. Alice tells him that it won't be an easy task, but Lloyd loves things when they are not easy. Alice agrees to teach him, saying that the key to communicating with animals is love. If he enjoys love, he can gradually understand any monster, and anyone can learn how to do it. All he needs to do is feel it, then let things flow. Lloyd thinks about how to issue commands to animals, knowing that his sister didn't give commands to her animals, but she shared her will with them. When her group of animals started moving simultaneously, Lloyd noticed that the mana was flowing directly from her head, not from her hands, so from her head to their heads. She can communicate directly with animals through mana, giving them a direct vision of what she wants. Instead of issuing a command, she shares a mental image. Lloyd tries to do the same and succeeds. The wolf bear does what Lloyd asked without any command. Silva and Iris are amazed, and Lloyd is very happy and congratulates Shiro for what he did. But Elle says that the secret to the living is not complex things like will, or control, or anything else. Lloyd says to her that for sharing her mind, she needs to feel empathy. Otherwise, the animals won't listen to her. Love has a very deep depth. When Lloyd says this, all the animals approach him. After Lloyd finishes this, he returns to his palace and talks with Silva about how he's starting to understand how to communicate with monsters. Silva asks him to dedicate the same incentive to training his sword, but on another day, Prince Albert arrives wanting to speak briefly with Lloyd about something. Lloyd asks him about it, and he says he wants to introduce him to Esmeralda's brother, Prince Diane. Diane welcomes him warmly because he hasn't seen him in a long time. They go to Diane's room, where he tells Lloyd that he heard about the enchanted sword. He knows it's not impossible, but hard to believe, so he wants to see if it's just empty talk or not. Lloyd doesn't respond, so Albert tells Diane about their brother's enthusiasm for the smithing, explaining that when he was 10, he traveled to Bartram, a neighboring country known for blacksmithing. Thus, forging is very important to them. Diane was surprised when Albert asked him to study abroad for the kingdom, despite being a prince. He responded that it's not about him. Then he asked him to hurry up and start forging because he has everything he needs for forging. Diane thinks to himself that he wasn't convinced because forging is an advanced skill itself, and being able to use it on an enchanted sword is beyond what they can even do in Bartram. Then we see Lloyd forging on Diane's sword. Diane decides that if Lloyd starts spouting empty words in the 7 years since he last saw him, he'll give him a lesson. But in the end, Lloyd manages to forge on his sword, impressing Diane with the unique property of his forging. It's both fast and accurate at the same time, something he's never seen before. He doesn't know what kind of enchantment pattern this is. So Lloyd's brother, Diane, boasts of enhanced strength, enhanced flexibility, self-cleaning, and Then Diane tells Lloyd that it's incredibly awesome, and thanks to his help, he might actually achieve his dream of the greatest enchanted sword. Lloyd says that enchanted weapons can't be compared. Diane responds that when steel is forged, the enchantment is inscribed inside it, allowing for more advanced magic to be placed, creating a weapon beyond what's possible without the cooperation of both an enchanter and a blacksmith. Diane then tells his brother Lloyd that when he was young, he really loved magic but never pursued it because he didn't have the talent. He says that enchanted swords are amazing. Anyone can wield them, waving them around and casting fire here and there and summoning winds. He wishes their country could be one where everyone can use magic by carrying enchanted swords. Lloyd says that for people who can't use magic, being able to use enchanted swords won't make a difference to him, but he's interested in the production process. It seems beautiful, then Lloyd asks Diane what kind of magic they should use. He says that the fire should be a sword that shoots fire when swung. Is there anything more wonderful than that? Let's use the flaming fireball. The formula for launching the flaming fireball has 14 parts, whereas the enchanted sword can contain up to 5 at most. They compress it to 2 parts and try it, but it breaks. Diane says that just applying the enchantment broke the steel. Lloyd says that the weight of the flaming fireball is very heavy, and maybe if they reduce the pressure to 3 parts. But they try once, twice, thrice, and it breaks each time. Lloyd says it's his mistake, and he's wasted a lot of mana essence. But why did he reduce the density of the enchantment to a normal fireball? The little monster rarely encounters a problem. Diane tells him not to worry. I'll prove your enchantment on this steel, even if it's on my corpse, Diane says to him. Diane tells him not to let it bother him. We'll work on it eventually. I have plenty of mana essence at a cheap price. Lloyd tries an enchantment from the water category, and indeed, there's barely any hematite in this mana essence. This might be enough for ordinary forging, but an enchanted sword often requires a considerable concentration. Diane says they use cheap mana essence. Lloyd responded saying, do you have any hematite? Diane replied, the items made from monster cores I don't have, of course. They're extremely rare. Lloyd said, I expected that. I guess I'll have to sneak out to hunt Dimas monsters again. Silva then said, in this case, we need to hunt monsters in Dimas. Lloyd was surprised. saying, "It's impossible for a prince like me to go to Damas." She told him, "I discussed the matter with the king after our recent encounter with the monsters a few days ago. It's to broaden your horizons. It would be a good idea for you to see a broader picture of the world." He seemed to welcome the idea, and we headed to the first station, to the Adventurers Guild. Then the scene shifts to the Adventurers Guild. Lloyd and Silva go there, and they are welcomed by the guild's secretary, named Katarina. "For registration, we'll need your name, age, address, and occupation, which will be listed under your name," she said. Silva told Lloyd, "You can write the truth. When you finish registration, place your hand on the ground sphere. It will measure your strength and determine your rank as an adventurer." Lloyd thought to himself, a crystal ball to measure power. I used one when I joined the Magic Academy in my previous life. It's also charged with mana, which radiates throughout the body when touched. Then it uses the data acquired to measure your statistics and abilities. Now per session, if I touch it now, there's a chance it might explode. That would attract a lot of attention. I have to focus on mana pressure even more than usual as it flows through my body. Lloyd then places his hands on the ball and finds the total rating is I. People laughed at him, and he said, "This guy, even little chicks usually get a D rating," Katerina commented. "This is impressive. Your magic rating is A," Lloyd thought. "I thought I had reduced my mana to one of its original strength." The people exclaimed, "Prince Lloyd is the most promising new adventurer since the Silver Swordsman. How dare these people compare this dwarf to the legendary Silver Swordsman who traversed countless Dimas and reached rank A before suddenly disappearing?" One man said, "This child's ranked I cannot be compared." Silva then said to Katerina, "We're interested in accepting any available Dimas missions." Katerina replied, "Dimas missions require at least rank B for acceptance." Silva said, "I'll redo my registration." Then the man said to Silva, "What do you think about leaving the boy and going out to Dimas on a romantic date?" Silva attacked him, cutting half of his mustache, and Katerina said, "You've chosen the wrong girl to flirt with." And Silva here is the Silver Swordsman herself. Everyone was astonished and fearful. Katarina added, "Unfortunately, re-registration requires a 2-level reduction to rank C." Then Tao appeared, saying, "I'm ready to lend a hand, but you'll take Silva with you," and she's angry. Silva told her, "Don't leave." Tao replied, "I can't find him at all. I've searched all of Dimas, which is why I've become strong enough to reach rank A, so in exchange for my help, I want to be introduced to Prince Albert and maybe arrange a romantic date with T." Silva said, "This is unbelievable. This might be the mission." Lloyd commented, "I didn't know you were such an amazing adventurer." Tao replied, "I was an adventurer for a long time as a means of training and gaining little experience. Plus I faced deadly enemies I failed to defeat. I think they were called the Assassin's Guild." The scene then shifts to Albert asking Diane how things are going. Diane replied, "Things are going smoothly. The boy Lloyd should return within a few days with the items we need." Albert said, "He'll be here within a few days." Diane said, "When Lloyd returns, we can produce enchanted swords in large quantities." Albert said, "I brought you two together as siblings, so there's no need to worry about any fighting. If these swords can contribute to saving even one person in the kingdom someday, that would be wonderful, so please continue your search for your enchanted swords." Diane replied, "That day may be closer than you think." Lloyd and Silva were very happy upon his return. Albert said to Diane, "When I see Lloyd smiling, it gives me strength. It's as if there's nothing he can't do. He dispels all my worries." Then Diane tried the sword, and finally succeeded this time, striking the sword into the ground and causing an explosion. At night, Lloyd felt exhausted as he returned to his room. He said, "I've been extremely tired. Gathering materials and making D-Lodi, reducing the fireball to a regular fireball, and producing those enchanted swords in large quantities." Albert seemed a bit preoccupied, and Lloyd wondered if there was something important looming on the horizon. He felt there was something in the central garden, but what? There were no discernible patterns. It felt like a gap and emptiness instead. Then we see this mysterious cloaked figure in the garden. And so today's episode ends. Stay tuned for the next episodes of this anime. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to receive all the latest updates.
This episode begins with Lloyd in the palace courtyard where he notices a girl, later revealed to be Ren, observing him. He approaches her, surprising her, and then Lloyd uses an air confinement spell, creating a barrier around them so that the girl cannot escape. Lloyd then requests to speak with her briefly, telling her that what she did constitutes a violation of property ultimately. Ren then utilizes her power to sedate Lloyd. This ability renders Lloyd unresponsive, allowing Ren to escape. Nothing can purify her venom no matter what, as this purification is capable of neutralizing any known venom. If unsuccessful, it renders it an unknown toxin. Ren can alter the nature of her venom with mana. There are rare individuals born with a special type of mana. Those possessing threatening abilities are known as Mayua. Ren correctly guesses that she is the Mayua of Venom. Ren explains that she has been emitting venom since birth, earning her the moniker Venom Bug. Meanwhile, Lloyd listens to her and she speaks affectionately. However, Ren's companion, Lloyd's rival, appears angered by the situation. He is concerned for Lloyd due to Ren's venom. Lloyd assures him not to worry, as he will be fine. He will use a healing spell from the health category, the Breath of Healing, to treat himself. Even the damage from Ren's toxin won't be enough to overcome the spell. Lloyd's rival asks him to catch up with Ren if he is able to move. So Lloyd tells his rival that he made Ren do that to let her lead him to their hideout. Instead, Silva had informed him about them previously in the Adventurers Guild. He recalls Silva's words when she said she was sure that Ren was a member of the Assassins Guild. They are a group of 6 highly skilled individuals, led by a figurehead with bounties on their heads. Each of them seems to possess a unique ability. Then Lloyd uses his power to track Ren's footsteps, realizing that she has fled in that direction. Her ability to conceal herself astonishes him greatly. Her method of disappearance is akin to creating a rift in space, making tracking easy for someone who recognizes it, yet leaving no trace behind is remarkable. He goes to catch up with her. We then switch scenes to Ren when she returns to her group. Her friend informs her that their cover has been blown, yet she fled without killing Lloyd. She tells him he's just a child, but she obtained something important. They know they're producing enchanted swords in large quantities now, which likely signals an impending war, meaning they'll be able to. Her friend interrupts her and orders her to stop trying to divert attention like their leader chide. Their leader has left and not returned. Ren insists that's not true, as Chid will come back, but her friend scolds her, stating they're being watched. Ren is shocked because Lloyd is still poisoned and unable to follow her. Her friend tells her that the boy she mentioned is the 7th Prince, who stands behind the mass production of enchanted swords, and rumors suggest he's pretending to be ordinary but is actually powerful and ambitious. At this moment, Lloyd arrives, and they decide not to let him escape now that he knows about the Assassins Guild. Lloyd creates a barrier around them all, angering his rival, who questions why he did that. Lloyd explains that he's dealing with individuals with unique powers, and it would be wasteful not to test them. Defense wouldn't be enjoyable without a barrier. Lloyd then engages in combat with one of the Assassins Guild members named Tao. Tao tries to strike him, but Lloyd manages to hit him and grab his leg before he escapes. Tao is impressed that he didn't know princes also learn martial arts. He then demonstrates his flexibility before Lloyd, being incredibly agile. He tells Lloyd that he believes introductions are in order, then uses his body's flexibility to strike Lloyd in the face, revealing he was born more flexible than anyone else, capable of contorting his body to fit into the smallest spaces like a rodent. He's the Mayua of contortions. He tells Lloyd that Babylon was even more flexible, achieved by using magic to alleviate strain on the limbs. Lloyd is amazed by this unique power. Anderson as Lloyd is impressed by this power. Kuro comes from behind and strikes him, causing Lloyd to fall to the ground, feeling suddenly heavy. Galilia informs him that Kuro is the Harpy, Mayua of curses, his reserved nature to restrain his power. At this point, the leader directs an attack toward Lloyd, but Lloyd uses power enhancement to overcome that curse. He flies through the air and jumps onto him, but finds himself entangled in spider threads. The man introduces himself as Galilia, famous for these spider threads that cover his body like a viscous fluid. He is the Mayua of webs. Lloyd slips out of his clothes quickly, then starts analyzing them. They are very strong, with many barriers and high skills. Galilia, the leader, has the ability to transform his mana into amazing webs, which is more than wonderful. It's similar to Ren's ability to transform mana into venom. Lloyd uses power enhancement, but the girl, Talia, intervenes and faces him. She strikes him and introduces herself as the mistress of 100 pains. She can share her pain with anyone she can see. She's the Mayua of pain. Lloyd is surprised and says, "Amazing indeed." Then they all return to each other's sides, finally done introducing themselves. Talia looks at Lloyd and says, "Do you remember the feeling of fear now? In this state, be polite, as I will teach you about shame." Lloyd smiles broadly, carrying the meaning of strength. He says he used to find such concepts entirely unfamiliar, but now he no longer cares about them. Then he easily heals himself, surprising everyone, and then uses his power on them, asking Talia what would happen if he were to hurt her. He urges them to show all their abilities, stunning Galilea, the leader, who remarks, "My goodness, this child seems like the swordsman who shocked me in the past." Ren asks if he means the one they fought, Kuro, then he swiftly attacks them, and everyone is astonished at how a child possesses such immense power. Then he directed a blow at the flexible-bodied green man, causing him to scream in pain from the intensity. He then attacked the others and dodged their moves, saying, "It's your turn now, dark menacing bird. How will you deal with this assault? Show me what you've got." He swiftly utilized the dual blade skill faster than the speed of light. The dark bird replied, "You were somewhat slow. If you had completed your sentence, maybe you could have stopped me. But you won't finish your sentence." Before he could utter the letter item from the word, Lloyd was on top of him, delivering powerful blows that knocked him to the ground, mocking them all afterward. After that, Lloyd attacked Talia with his sword, but she parried it, saying, "For your information, Prince, if you wound me, the damage affects you even if I'm not the cause. We are linked, so why would I attack?" he replied. "I will test you with the strength of the wolf's fang," and struck her, causing Talia to be shocked against the wall. Lloyd retorted, "The pain indeed rebounded to you." Gallia said to him, "I've got you. You can't move or use your weapon." However, Lloyd managed to escape and used his power against her. Gallia was surprised by Lloyd's strength as he landed a powerful blow, causing her to fall. Lloyd then spoke, saying, "You're using a shield of networks to mitigate the impact of the attack." He told Talia, "Come here. If you don't, I'll make the first move." Gallia explained to him that Ren cannot control her own venom mana. As soon as she starts spreading it, we'll all be affected. That's why she doesn't fight. It's obvious, these cursed powers. If we could control them, we wouldn't have become a group of law evaders, claiming to be outlaws, Lloyd said. He then used his magic on Gallia, angering Ren greatly, who went to strike Lloyd, but he blocked her with his own barrier. He told her, "Don't do it. You're spreading toxins," she replied. "I'll do anything for Gallia's sake." Gallia spoke to Ren, saying, "Stop, I'm fine. My mana is under control," Lloyd explained. "I directly inscribed the enchantment into your body so you can control your power. If you can't do it yourself, you need external correction, and the mana flowing outward must circulate within your body. I haven't tried inscribing the enchantment directly into someone's body before, but it seems to have succeeded." Balia cried, saying, "The wretched curse is over." Lloyd said, "It's not completely over. If you want, you must be able to produce mana at will. Let me do that for the rest of you." Lloyd then tested it on the others. Kuro said, "I feel like my mana isn't losing. I can control it. It has also healed us." Kuro spoke naturally after a long time and cried because he could speak. Everyone was happy with what happened. Talia said, "I can hurt myself while looking at someone without them being affected." The green-haired girl spoke, saying, "Prince 7, if we want, we can still use our powers." Gallia went to Ren and said, "You're not leaking venom despite your light clothes. Now you can wear whatever you want." Ren replied, "It's not like I care." The green-haired boy said, "You're lying." "It's clear you're crying," Ren explained. "These tears are because that boy touched me, not because I can control my venom now or wear what I want." Lloyd happy said, "It seems the enchantment is successful with all of you." Ren became angry with Lloyd, saying, "You didn't make him the 7th member of the gang now. In addition to this being my clothing." Talia said, "We owe a lot to Lloyd. We should prepare to welcome him." Ren said to her, "But he was making weapons for war and infiltrating our hideout. He's an enemy." Grim replied, "I don't know about these war rumors, but you say he infiltrated here and made enchanted swords. All that was Prince Lloyd's idea for some entertainment," Ren exclaimed. "Any prince who makes enchanted swords and infiltrates an assassin's den for fun, and any goat that can fly and speak?" Lloyd, after becoming able to control his powers, said, "I want you to show me." Dahlia interjected, "The important thing is that we explain ourselves. There are many things you need to know." Talia added, "Show us a new path, Lloyd, from when we started to deteriorate." Gallia said, "It's a long story, but listen to me as compensation for our violations. I'll explain how we became the Assassin's Guild and about our leader, Muo the Spectre, with instantaneous teleportation power." Gallia recounted one day when a boy came to them, saying, "I haven't seen you for a while," as he had been in a sandy place where there were ruins in this manner. He found himself teleporting instantly to random locations against his will. The boy told them, "Look at this emblem. It will be our Muad Union." Then he said, "Look at this emblem. It will be our Assassin's Guild emblem. We'll accept suspicious jobs that the Adventurers Guild can't handle." Each time we perform a task, we'll leave a piece at the scene so people know our presence contributes to spreading peace worldwide. We won't have to hide in the shadows. We'll be able to live openly in broad daylight." Then he left them and disappeared with instantaneous teleportation power. When they returned to him later, Galia said, "We started accepting jobs that even the Adventurers Guild couldn't handle." Lloyd thought to himself, "Have I gained more insight into this instantaneous teleportation power?" Galia replied, "We had a glimmer of hope for the resigned, and then we heard that Lordost ruler was preparing for war." Suddenly, they receive this message, and Silva and the young wolf come out, saying, "We came to rescue you." However, they enter and find no one, but they catch his scent, and we see the wolf consulting her about this message. She takes it and reads it aloud to Albert, stating that Lloyd is going to visit Lordost ruler's palace with the Assassin's Guild, which greatly frightens Albert. He says, "How did this happen exactly?" And matters are very sensitive with Lordost. Why is Lloyd doing this? Why would Lordost and the Assassins cooperate and kidnap Lloyd? If that's the case, then his friend says to him, "Calm down. But you can't start a war with Lordost based on a theory. I don't believe anyone can kidnap Lloyd. Albert insists war should be the last resort. I'll pursue a peaceful solution to the end. Lloyd is strong. A group of vagrants can't surpass him." Then Silva gives Albert clothes she found in their hideout, saying they belong to Lloyd. Albert, with anger, says, "We will start the war now." Then we see Lloyd using teleportation power to arrive at Lord Ostie's palace. That's how today's episode ends. Stay tuned for the upcoming episodes of this anime, so don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell for all the latest updates. In an absolutely thrilling episode, Jade, the friend of the Assassin's Guild, sends an invitation to welcome everyone to his new city. When they arrive at the party, Jade transforms into a demon from the underworld and reveals that he is possessing their friend's body and that their friend is actually dead. Everyone is in a state of shock, but they are entangled with these malevolent forces and cannot escape. Will Lloyd be able to intervene and save them from their dire situation? This is what we will witness throughout the episode. Stay tuned until the end. The anime episode begins with Lloyd when he is with a group of assassins, and they receive a message from the Assassin's Guild with their leader. Guide's mark on it. Galilea rushes to open the message and reads Guide's words, apologizing for his delayed return as he had been dealing with the rulers of Lordost who were preparing for war. Now that he has overthrown them, he is the ruler and ready to welcome them all to the governor's palace as he promised. He has prepared a welcome party for them at the Lordost governor's palace because he wants to live with them again. After Galilea finishes reading the message, he weeps, moved by his leader's words, but the rest of the team is happy because their leader has returned and kept his promise to them. Galilea then speaks to Lloyd, pleading that they want to head to Lordost to meet Deed. He swears that they will repay him for this favor someday. If he doesn't mind, they want him to join them on their journey, as this way he can also stamp the spell on Jeed. Lloyd talks to Rhine and asks her if she knows where the message came from. She replies that it appeared suddenly out of nowhere. Lloyd realizes that this means it was teleported accurately to the exact spot, as spatial teleportation is one of the most complex magical topics. It is something no one has fully discovered yet, and it's not something someone can figure out accidentally. Galilei understands that Guide can control his power and that he was lying about not being able to control it before. However, they do not understand the benefit of lying about that, so they cannot fully trust what he says in the message. Strin tells them that Guide must have learned how to control his power. Lloyd responds that in this case, he wouldn't need to accompany them, but he will go anyway as his interest in teleportation requires it. He then tells Rin that he thought she trusted Jeed. She replies that she does trust him, but is afraid something might go wrong for them if they are alone. Lloyd decides to go with them so they can rest and follow him. Lloyd then teleports them, arriving in a forest. Upon landing, the group of assassins feels exhausted from the rapid transit. Lloyd tells them that not even 10 minutes have passed since they started flying, yet everyone is sprawled on the ground. Babylon bends backward dramatically and remarks that there is no problem since they are close to their destination. He suggests they take a break and walk the rest of the way. Rin proposes they find something to eat in the forest, but Lloyd refuses. Babylon insists, boasting about her upbringing in the forest. She reveals that when Rin was young, her venom ended up killing her parents, leaving her to survive alone in the forest until Guide helped her. We flash back to when Guide found Rhine and brought her to his group. He announced her name and warned them about her dangerous venom. Everyone was afraid, but Gede assured them it would be fine as he would teach her how to integrate. Galilea pointed out that Rin was restrained, but if her venom started leaking, they would all die. He understood that merely binding her wouldn't contain the venom, indicating she couldn't truly live with people, declared that he would take care of her, and asked for their assistance. Galilea agreed to be her teacher, Talia and Crow offered to design her clothes, and Babylon sought to find food to neutralize her venom. They all worked together to help her become an ordinary human. Rin cried and thanked them for their help. Since then, Gede had been like a real brother to Rin, and they all truly felt like family. Hearing all this, Lloyd wished to meet Gede. Meanwhile, Rin finished preparing the food, and everyone was fearful of being poisoned. She informed them it was an improvised stew from forest ingredients. Babylon asked Crow to use his magic to make it taste good, which angered Rin, who insisted there was no need because it was already delicious. Talia mentioned that Lloyd was a prince and shouldn't eat such food, but before Ryan could reply, she noticed Lloyd eating the stew. He found it very delicious, explaining that in his previous life, he was so poor he had prepared and eaten much worse food. Everyone was astonished as Lloyd devoured the stew, despite growing up in the slums and being hesitant to eat it initially. Eventually, everyone sat down to eat Ryan's food and were delighted by its deliciousness, discovering Ryan's unexpected talent for cooking despite her venomous nature. And then recalls her leader, Gede, and wishes he were with them to taste her food. She remembers the past when he was by their side, informing them that the Adventurers Guild would reconsider the bounties on their heads, meaning they wouldn't be fugitives anymore. Everyone was overjoyed at the news as they could now live normal lives. Gede asked them to calm down, reminding them that the guild would only reconsider for now. Galilea interrupted, saying that reconsideration meant they were getting closer to it becoming a reality. Gede he was a noble who had approached them to use them because Lordos was ruled by his family, a nefarious, devilish group planning wars daily like bloodthirsty beasts. He had been seeking a way to prevent this war, looking for allies and seeking power, which is why he approached them and formed this team. In the end, he apologized for manipulating them. However, no one was shocked. All they realized was that Gede was actually wealthy. Gede became angry, thinking they should have been more surprised. They weren't because they had suspected something from his behavior. Galilea told him that everyone had chosen a different path in life, one that was rugged and challenging, so they never talked about it. In the end, they were still wanted by the Assassin's Guild. Regardless of his motives, Gede gave them hope, being like the sun to those living in the shadows. He could have kept his mouth shut forever, and they believed he would help them and even kill his wealthy siblings. Gede falls silent for a moment and then tells them that he wants to settle the matter himself. He explains that they have all been striving for the right to live normal lives. If the Adventurers Guild discovers that they carried out assassinations based on personal grudges, all their efforts would be in vain, and the bounties on their heads would likely increase significantly. They would never truly know freedom again. He reveals that his body is cursed and his family is a curse, making his entire life seem cursed. However, the time he spent with them was a blessing. He wants to forget everything about Lordost and live with them as a family. But he knows he can't do that because Lordost will wage war one day, and he cannot stand idly by and ignore. More importantly, Gede has a dream now and wants them to promise him something. If he can return, he will become the ruler of Lordost and make it a place where the outcasts can live happily, where everyone can live together. The scene transitions to the forest, where Galilei is carrying a sleeping on his back. He remarks, it's unbelievable that he uses all this unnatural magic that no one else can. He fell asleep. He's just a very cute kid. The small creature Grim responds, he's not that cute. Even while sleeping, he's surrounded by a sturdy barrier at all times. And then speaks, we should let Lloyd rest while we go and check out the palace. I don't want to doubt Gede, but he might be under the control of the Lordost officials. They might have forced him to send that message. Galilei agrees. That's a good point. It would be best to verify this. We should try to make this as easy as possible for Prince Lloyd. Rin asks Grim to stay with Lloyd. Grim responds, he'll be worried if anything happens to you while he's asleep and he'll be mad at me. So we should handle the exploration. They leave Lloyd alone in the forest and stand on the palace wall to see what's inside. They discover preparations for a party. Grim comments that he doesn't sense any hostility and suggests they return to Lloyd. Suddenly, a figure appears and says, you are the Assassin's Guild. Why didn't you come through the front gate? He tells them they are the awaited guests and invites them to sit at the table, offering them the finest food and drink. Galileo confides to his friends, "I feel so out of place. I feel nauseous." They are all angry and unsure of how to act, realizing they need Lloyd. Grim volunteers to fetch Prince Lloyd. Trin, feeling nervous about seeing Gede again, asks Grim to stay with her a bit longer. When their friend Gede finally appears, the friends all start crying upon seeing him. Gede changes his clothes and remarks, "You'll be more familiar with me in this form." Trin approaches Gede, saying, "There are so many things I wanted to say, but I can't put them into words." And then she begins to cry heavily. As Grim leaves the palace, Gede and everyone in the palace transform. Gede says to them, an easy way to gather a group of healthy outcasts, right? Rin, shocked, asks, "Why are you doing this to us?" Gede responds, "Look at all these outcasts." At that moment, Grim returns and attacks, urging Ryan's friends to escape and fetch Prince Lloyd or tell him to run as well. Gede strikes Grim hard, saying, "Just a little demon interfering. You've lost your mind." Lloyd finally wakes up from his deep sleep and finds himself alone. We then see Grim on the ground, saying, "I didn't sense any hostility. This is a nightmare. His goal is to kill the assassins." The scene shifts back to the palace where Rin questions Gede, "What is happening?" The creature laughs hysterically and says, "You still don't understand what's going on, you miserable beings. Even your minds are too lowly to grasp it." Demonic creatures start emerging from their mouths, shocking everyone. Galileo exclaims, "Psychic entities that can infect and control humans." Dr. Tour, rather the creature inside him, confirms, "Yes, everyone you see here is a demon I brought from the underworld. Beyond this continent lies a vast ocean, and there was something on this land I desperately wanted." He reveals this is Gede's body and his teleportation ability. "Nice to meet y'all. I am Disarme from the underworld. Gede is dead because I took over his body. It took me months to exhaust Gede's mind, and those months were delightful." Rin screams, "What did you do to Gede?" Disarme strikes her, saying, "I wasn't finished talking." He continues his speech, saying, "Gede cared about you all so much and didn't want anything to harm you. He resisted until the very end. The bodies of the outcasts are actually suitable vessels for us, despite their rarity. He knew I would come for you next, so he preferred to die. But I healed him, keeping him on the brink of death while undoing all the damage repeatedly, but not realizing that it only sped up the deterioration of his mind. The noble mind of Gede, in his futile quest for release through death, left this world permanently." Disarme then instructs the demons to finish them off, letting each demon choose their victim. He warns them to be cautious with Rin because she killed her parents with her venom. Ryan's friends are furious, shouting for him to leave her alone. Babylon, enraged, yells, "How dare you say that to her face? We want to kill you, but we can't move." Disarme tells the demons, "We have 5 people here. Who wants to choose first?" Then he notices a mark on Ryan's shoulder and says, "This wasn't in Gede's memories. It looks like a spell. I don't care for magic, but I hate seeing my property tampered with." He demands, "Who did this?" and transforms into a more terrifying demon to intimidate Rin. Ryan bites her tongue to resist, and Disarme pressures her, saying, "Betray your friends. Betray them for me. Who used this spell on you?" Rin's magic suddenly erupts, causing an explosion and creating a crater in the ground. A barrier protects the assassins, saving them. Rin cries intensely. Lloyd then steps forward and says, "I'm the one who cast the spell on her." The episode ends here with a cliffhanger. That's the end of today's episode of this anime. Stay tuned for the next episodes. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to get all the latest updates. In the most thrilling episode yet, Lloyd will meet the Demon Lord from the underworld, a catastrophe in every sense of the word. Lloyd won't be able to defeat him with all his power. Instead, the Demon Lord will throw spears at him and turn him to stone. Moreover, in this exciting episode, we'll see Lloyd's friends sacrifice themselves for each other amidst harsh events and painful scenes. Stay with us until the end to learn the whole story. Today's episode begins with Lloyd using his ultimate power to eliminate these damn demons, as he blows up the entire place. It was a spectacular display of power worth watching, to the point that these demons were terrified with fear and cries bitterly because Jade has died, but Lloyd tells her to forget about him because a demon had possessed his body and mind completely. However, he notices her mouth is bleeding and asks if she tried to bite her tongue. He then heals her with a very advanced technique and tells them that he had been targeting the demon from the beginning, but they can leave the rest to him as he will take full responsibility. They then take each other and leave the place as Lloyd orders them because the situation is very dangerous. There are still many demons everywhere, and they would be an obstacle for Lloyd if they stayed. Then we see the leader of the demons, named Githarm, burning with fire from all directions. He suddenly emerges and says to them, "What are you fools doing? Have you forgotten why we set this trap? Assassins are professionals when it comes to hiding. Now go drive them out before I kill you all." Everyone then rushes out quickly, but Lloyd tells him that he won't allow that to happen. He then directs a scorching laser beam at them to kill them all. Githarm appears again, this time at the top of the tower, and delivers a powerful blow to Lloyd, piercing his defensive barrier. Lloyd evades it and falls to the ground while analyzing his body to launch an attack. It's likely that their friend Jade is still alive, but Lloyd will now aim to strike and kill the parasitic demon controlling him. Gorim then tells him, "You need to be precise. I noticed that this is similar to the cursed speech of their friend Karo, although this is much more effective. There is no comparison when using a spell to summon a phenomenon. You can use a wall of mana to defend against the effect, but when the attack is specifically directed, it's not necessarily effective. The barrier is like a sieve, and the mana is like water. Water can seep through any hole. If we were dealing with someone like Pazuzu, he might be able to overcome anything you block with your mana, but in this case, the special mana can pierce my heart." Then Grim speaks to him. Demons are classified into ranks from 1 to 10. Those at the bottom are usually garbage demons of the 10th rank, so magic works on them. Pazuzu was of the 8th rank. I am Gorim, a 3rd rank demon. Lloyd replied, "I think that demon leader is of the 1st rank." Grim responded, "No, it's worse than that. He's much higher. He is a leader from the underworld, the demon lord, one of the most powerful beings in this world. He is a natural disaster." Lloyd told him, "Don't worry, my friend. I think he's more than just a scoundrel. I must discipline him." Grim shouted at him, "This time, you are no match for him, your highness. You need to retreat. We must find another opportunity to defeat him." The demon lord then speaks to Lloyd. "Who exactly are you?" Lloyd replied, "Just a prince, the 7th prince." The demon lord then said, "I remember something about you from the memories of your friend Jade, but you will not leave here unscathed. Look below. You have ruined my throne and destroyed my followers. You will never get away with this, prince. I don't think we've settled the score yet." Grim was trembling with fear. The real battle was about to begin. Before that, Grim urged Lloyd to escape quickly, saying their chances of winning were very slim. But Lloyd didn't care. He wanted to fight him, no matter how powerful he was. But this demon is on another level. High-pressure mana would appear as mere ripples to him. He is a natural-born monstrosity dwelling in the deepest depths. The demon attacks Lloyd, breaking through his sturdy barrier. Grim is terrified, saying that his spiraling black flare gun has been completely blocked. The demon tells Lloyd, "You have good protection, prince," and then prepares another spell to attack him, saying, "How many layers can withstand this?" He shoots arrows at Lloyd, who tries to block them all. The demon then stands on Lloyd's barrier and kicks it, scaring Grim greatly with the demon's blow. The scene then shifts outside the palace, where demons chase after Lloyd's friends to kill them. Galilia tells Babylon to hurry and open the gate. We return to Lloyd, and Grim is crying profusely. Lloyd tells him to forget about the tears and that he needs something else from him. The demon tells Lloyd, "I couldn't pressure him except through the use of teleportation, which is my power. Jade couldn't control this power, but I can." It seems that humans need the abstract concept of spells to master these abilities, but for my race, we are born as lords of mana, like a bird knows how to fly without being taught. Then there are the pitiful few who are born with wings but lack the wisdom to use them. Those are the cursed ones, with wings so great and fine that I could hear their fluttering from the distant underworld. These creatures are hated and feared by their own kind. They should be glad to die and offer their bodies. A cursed one is complete only when it becomes a host body for a demon. Let me perfection, prince. The demon strikes Lloyd with a sword, wounding him. The demon says, "You have no choice. In reality, there is no need for haste or precision or anything excessive. I will grant you an inevitable death. I think I shall name this power after the title given to my host." Then we go back to the assassins, who are fighting the cursed ones with their magic. Galia tells them, "Prince Lloyd has given us the ability to control our powers. We will not give up without a fight. The net will harden like a rock in a few seconds." One of the cursed ones says, "A few seconds will be enough to kill you. Galilea uses his magic to fix them to the ground. Finally, Babylon manages to open the gate, saying, "I've opened it. Let's close it as quickly as possible." Galilea tells them to crawl under it. The cursed ones manage to free themselves from Galilea's magic, leaving him astonished, saying, "This is unbelievable, even after that mixture of the spider web and cursed speech." The cursed one says, "Try to escape now. You won't get far." Talia then uses her magic to strike them, injuring herself in the process, saying, "Thank you, Lloyd. Look at what I can do now." Her friends are shocked. Caro asks her, "What are you doing?" She tells them to stay away from her because she doesn't have enough control to avoid affecting her allies. She urges them to go, and when they reach the forest, she conceals their presence. Reese asks her, "How will you escape with that leg?" The cursed one says she can share her wounds with them, and they can heal themselves. However, Talia strikes her leg again, causing them to be hit as well, saying, "This power is very dangerous," and the woman doesn't hesitate at all. Talia asks her friends to leave and not worry about her, saying, "I won't let them take my body." Reese responds, "We can't leave you and go." Galilea then closes the gate on them. Talia gets angry at Galilea, saying, "I asked you to stay out of my line of sight." He tells her, "You can't fight them all alone. They will easily break through the gate at this rate. No one will survive. I'll be here when you deliver the fatal blow." The cursed ones are surprised and scared by what Talia is doing and rush towards her. However, Galilea stands in their way and uses his magic to push them back. Talia says, "We were cursed ones and assassins on the run, and now look at what we can do." I can't imagine how Jade felt, trying to commit suicide over and over again. Bruce is saddened by Talia's words, saying, "We can control our curses now. There won't be bounties on our heads anymore. Jade may never come back, but we will be very close to living with people." Talia, in a fit of intense anger, says, "Don't underestimate what members of the Assassin's Guild do for each other." She then cuts her hair. After that, we transition to the demon speaking to Lloyd, saying, "The idea of all of you living under the bright sunlight was JD's dream. The thought of a bunch of worms crawling under a rock dreaming is disgusting. Maybe then there was some sense in the efforts of the cursed ones, but now I will teach them how insects have no right to life or death." He then turns to find Lloyd completely petrified and fallen, greatly surprised. But what is even stranger is that Lloyd is still alive. Lloyd moves from behind him and delivers a harsh blow, but the demon lord dodges it, laughing a lot and mocking Lloyd, thinking this is just the beginning. Lloyd is in a very critical situation. What should he do now against this creature that is hard to kill? He jokes with him, saying, "I'm tired of this place. Can we move the battle to another location?" We return to the cursed ones, where something very strange has happened. Flames are raining down on them from all directions, but they don't know what's happening. Then the second prince opens the gate with his magnificent combat group. He asks them, "Where is Lloyd?" Everyone is surprised, and Ryan exclaims, "What is this?" "It's the second prince, Albert. He has come here himself." The second prince then orders his legion to follow him to rescue his brother, the seventh prince. It will be a brutal battle, to say the least. Prince Lloyd's brother arriving to rescue him. It seems like it will be a very exciting episode. He tells them that the priority now is not that devil gang, but to save his brother first. Then Silva intervenes and says, "No, the priority is those beside us." She points her sword at them and says, "Imposters Guild, your plan has been uncovered. Now tell me where Prince Lloyd is." She sets a time limit with the clock and says, "I'll give you exactly 1 minute. Every time you lie, a head will roll." They tell her that Prince Lloyd is fighting in the governor's castle, fighting for them, the Assassin's Guild. Then Ryan says that he is facing the demon leader, but before he can finish, his friend covers his mouth and says, "Do not say another word. Do not forget our promise to Prince Lloyd." He then remembers when Prince Lloyd was talking to them and told them, "If you meet anyone from the castle, keep my power and the power of Grimm a secret. Do not tell anyone about this power." One of them asked, "Why should we keep such a secret?" Prince Lloyd replied, "I love humility and obscurity. Drawing attention would be annoying for me. I do not like fame. I am..." Back to the present, his friend tells him that the people from the castle must not know about Prince Lloyd's battle. Rin asks, "So what should we say now?" Silva says it's time for someone to lose their head. Rin calls out to her and says, "Wait, I'll tell you. Lloyd is fighting a real failure right now." But she does not believe him and says, "Then I'll start by cutting off your head." Rin is terrified and his hair stands on end from the intense fear. Then his leader says supposedly, Prince Albert is kinder and smarter and will understand our talk. I am sure he will believe us. But Prince Albert tells them, "Well, I do not prefer starting with the child." Let's do this with the adults first and cut off one of their heads. Everyone is shocked. Then he says, look, this rag belongs to Prince Lloyd. Does this mean you have killed him or what? Tell me, why would Lloyd fight for people who left this as a threat? Beware of trying to utter unconvincing words or I will cut off all your heads, said the leader to them. He replied, you're mistaken. Those clothes were only soaked in my fluids, so we left them to dry. The second prince was shocked and said, just at this moment, Ryan spoke again, saying, naturally, you don't believe us. But just like all of you may be worried about Lloyd, we are even more concerned about him than you are. I will do what you wish, and I am now ready to receive the punishment. But those demons took my friend Jed, which means they took a member of my family. That's why Lloyd is fighting them now. You have to believe me. This is the truth. I swear it is the truth. At the same time, demons emerged, but Fenrir quickly intercepted them. Then their other friend with the legendary horse said, believe that girl at least. Lyra would have devoured her if she had sensed any bad intentions. They then moved on to the pack of demons. The second prince spoke to Silva, telling her to find Lloyd and bring him back while they fought the demons. Rin clung to her and said, wait, Lloyd is fighting a weakling, so he doesn't need help. Silva retorted, shut up, or you will die here at this moment. The demons fled quickly, but it seemed they were going to surround them from the other side. Albert told them to return to the riverbank quickly, where he would be waiting for them. The scene shifted to Prince Lloyd and the Demon Lord. The Demon Lord said, this is very strange. There is considerable power down there, yet I find myself unable to take my eyes off you. They fought each other with great strength. Meanwhile, down below, Prince Albert and his soldiers were commanded to open fire. The demons screamed as they burned. Returning to Lloyd, he said, it seems I can leave the others to handle things down there, which means I can focus now. His speed was incredible, but his opponent was very smart. Back below, although the demons were burning, they were only slightly affected. Prince Albert pondered, even though I don't know what to do about their bodies, they are slightly affected. He then directed a huge fireball at the demons, but they were still alive. This will require powerful magic to bring them down. What are we to do now? Our strength will be depleted, and we won't achieve anything. The demons keep regenerating, and if we keep using fire, the smoke will make it very difficult to strike again. We need to arrange things so that Silva and Leroy can move freely. Then the scene shifts to Silva, riding on Shiro, saying, come on, Shiro, take us to Prince Lloyd now. Fly from this place. Shiro replied, have you gone mad? I don't think that's possible. We'll fall into the abyss. It's too far. But the dog jumps alone and lands in the water, swimming to the other side. Suddenly, a demon named Balha attacks Silva, but she was ready for him, surprising him with her remarkable defense. This demon tried to strike Silva, but she managed to fend off his blows, leaving the demon astonished at her attack. No one knew what was happening here. The demon spoke to Silva, remarking on her confidence in her sword skills and inviting her to join him in some devastating news. He revealed that his followers were 10th class demons while he was in the 8th class, and he was also a practitioner of the underworld's nominal swords. Silva was surprised because she didn't know there were ranks for demons. Then she asked about the Demon Lord class, and he mocked her, causing her to mock him back, which angered him greatly. After that, we switched to Prince Albert with his soldiers, fighting the remaining demons who had stolen the bodies of the citizens of Lordest. Albert pondered a way to save them. At that moment, a demon attacked him from behind, intending to harm him, but Babylon killed him, earning Albert's gratitude. They fought together, and Babylon mentioned that Albert was very kind and reminded him of their previous leader. He knew they weren't impressive and wouldn't make up stories about how they had no choice but to live, but they never took life lightly. They eliminated everyone here, leaving only demons in humanoid suits, with no way to save them. Albert used his power to free the human bodies from these demons. He then told his soldiers to be merciless because from now on, they were fighting to eradicate these invaders. After using his power, he felt exhausted, and a citizen of Lordest helped him. Albert ordered them not to pity these rapists. Then we switched to Silva, who is fighting this cursed demon. She fights bravely against him, being able to withstand each of his strikes and counter with her own strength. This fight continues for a long time, astonishing everyone with Silva's power. The demon speaks to her, telling her that they can exceed human limits. It's their demonic right. He explains that every time they are struck down, their bodies regenerate, so he has decided he no longer wants a body vulnerable to damage and will take hers. In this form, his body will become a demonic blade, able to consume higher levels and even benefit from the arts of the Betelgeuse sword. He then uses the Lord of Style, and Silva notices that her dominant hand is changed. He attempts to strike her, but she manages to dodge his attacks. The demon tells her that the people of Lordost are known for their martial arts interests and asks her to look at her hand, as the owner of this body put a lot of effort into it. He recalls the training and the metal ring on his finger, which annoyed him, so he threw it away. He had lived a fulfilling life with all his experiences, and now those memories and his body belong to him. He tells Silva that humans are like close to them. Master Rival remarks, "What do humans mean to you?" Silva, using her magic, attacks him, surprising the demon. He asks, "Can you use the demonic blade form?" Silva replies, "I learned it just by watching. You can't even steal a technique without stealing the body of an insect. I think your head is full of garbage." She then calls on Shiro, and the demon says, "Fighting alongside the wolf bear won't improve your chances." Silva readies herself, pulling the sword from Shiro which Lloyd had brought her. She will benefit from this stolen body, which cannot compare to the levels that humans striving for wisdom can achieve. "Allow me to demonstrate," she says. Then Silva remembers the day when Lloyd came to her and gave her this sword. He, Lloyd's friend, said, "We made it for you, but this is a token of thanks from me for helping me with the enchanted swords." She replied, "There's no enchantment in this, just pure craftsmanship. It was made to be strong and flexible enough to withstand your full power. I'm confident you can kill a demon with it. Demons may be ethereal beings, but they can't do much without a tangible body. That's why they create their own bodies or possess human ones. However, even when hosting a demon, the structure remains the same. If the body dies, the demon inside dies too. The only problem is that when under demon control, the body can be strong, requiring a strong attack to inflict damage. And even then, the damage can be repaired automatically. They must be taken down with one powerful strike." Silva thanks him for his concern. Lloyd's friend says, "We'll give the sword a name, taking my name and Al Lloyd's and Silva's Deleva." Silva says, "This name has magic. I'll name it with my eyes set on compensating for my previous failure." Then we return to Silva, saying that the enchanted sword will be the demise of the demon. The demon responds, "What demise? I can't believe you've given the sword a fictional name. Your future is already predetermined. The future of this country is simply a nightmarish tale without rhythm or reason, a destroyed nation for our amusement, plain and simple. This plan was drawn from the outset as a good lure to exit. We obtained these bodies through the waves of war, and Good returned quickly to its lands." Many of Good's friends are angered. Riffy says, "You knew Good hates war. It was your mistake. I won't let you wage war." Silva holds her, saying, "Don't stand in my way. This nightmare won't come true." The demon says, "I'll prove it to you with the final secret of the demonic blade form," and Silva strikes the demon with the sword, cutting it in half. She then says, "This is the main tiger bite." Jed on the verge of death when a demon appears to him and tells him that it knows he has accepted the idea of dying. However, Jed refuses to let the demon, Gisarme, get away with this because he stands to lose a lot. Jed then dies, and Gisarme decides to inhabit Jed's body. Once he possesses Jed's body, Gisarme alters Jed's appearance. He then remarks that he still doesn't understand what Jed was trying to accomplish before he died. Now, with Jed's power and memories at his disposal, he can see Jed's friends. As long as he possesses this body, he can do anything. Just as at this moment, his assistant, a small demon, arrives and congratulates him on his achievement. The assistant remarks that Gisarme has finally managed to seize Jed's power. When asked about their next move, Gisarme replies that Jed was afraid of war, so he wants to start a major conflict. The scene then shifts to Reed and Jed's friends, where we see Jed lying on the ground with everyone crying over him. Silva arrives and talks to them about demons. Before a demon can possess someone's body, that person must have been a swordsman of significant value. Silva mentions that she enjoyed using the Lordo style in duels. Reed, while crying, asks her if she knew Jed. She replies that she didn't know him but believes he was happy. She then tells Jed's friends that the title of assassins doesn't suit them. Before she can continue, a strong storm occurs and they don't know its source. When they look at the river, they feel intense heat emanating from it, causing much of it to evaporate. Lloyd uses his power to see what is happening, but he cannot see anything through the steam, realizing he used the wrong power. Gisarme then appears and uses his power to strike Lloyd, revealing he is behind all of this. Lloyd is then seen trying to find a better way to handle Gisarme's attacks. The mana spears, which have several different forms but all serve the same function, can penetrate single or double-layer barriers easily. They are incredibly powerful and fast, and if they hit him, it would result in his certain death. However, it won't be an issue as long as he maintains a reinforced and sturdy barrier at all times, except when Gisarme uses a specific type of his power. Indeed, Gisar manages to break through Lloyd's barrier. Reed saves himself before anything happens to him, as this doesn't create a tangible physical phenomenon, allowing him to slip through the barrier. Being hit means death, but the attack moves slowly, or so Lloyd thought. However, Gisarme can use these mana spears as a means of transportation, which means Lloyd needs to both block with barriers and perform evasive maneuvers. The situation becomes increasingly complicated for him. Gisarme then uses a new type of power called the Shadow Wolf, which is the most dangerous ability anyone can use. This requires Lloyd to move at high speed constantly. If Gisarme notices a Lloyd slowing down for more than 2 seconds, he will pinpoint his location and launch a powerful attack towards him. If Lloyd were in Gisarme's place, he would be launching strikes at himself, which irritates Lloyd so much that he considers attacking. He must use a spell faster than 2 seconds to counter the Shadow Wolf's power. Lloyd then uses his immense power to strike Gisarme. Gisarme is not afraid of this attack, knowing it won't kill him but only burn his clothes. Indeed, it has no effect on him. Lloyd then uses key techniques, specifically spectral detection, intending to find the Shadow Wolf that allows Gisarme to move anywhere at any time. This means he has to track Gisarme continuously using spectral detection. Suddenly, Lloyd receives a message from Grim warning him to keep moving. If he doesn't stay in motion, the Shadow Wolf will hit him. Lloyd then realizes he has been standing still for a while but hasn't been attacked by the Shadow Wolf. This makes him suspect that Gisarme knows his location because of the message. In this situation, it's easy for Gisarme to accurately aim at him. Gisarme then reflects on what his friends are doing. He never forgets why they are using this tactic, as assassins are experts in hiding. If they are vigilant enough, Gisarme might never be able to find them again. Lloyd stops moving, and Grim, his friend, asks him why he has stopped. Lloyd replies that there are no attacks, suggesting that Gisarme might have lost sight of them. What Lloyd wants to do is get close enough to hit Gisarme with his attack, but Gisarme will notice if he does that and lose his advantage. Lloyd is uncertain about what to do next. Then we see Gisarme searching for Lloyd, never expecting the river to evaporate. He can't see anything, but if he waits long enough, he suddenly sees Lloyd. Lloyd uses the puppet parade technique, where he has copied many puppets that look exactly like him to the extent that Gisarme can't distinguish Lloyd from the other puppets. However, Gisarme eventually realizes which one is Lloyd because Lloyd is the only one without a sword made of dirt. It's just a well-executed plan. But Lloyd had to carry it out with his real body to avoid any consequences. Magical attacks wouldn't work, so Gisarme decides to try physical attacks. This explains Lloyd's attempts to approach with the sword. Gisarme tells Lloyd that these attacks will never harm him. He can crush his brain or crush his heart, but he can regenerate in the blink of an eye. So he deals with Jed's suicidal attacks and can also crucify his body to become as hard as iron, allowing him to be stabbed and thus identify the real person from all these puppets. Indeed, he managed to touch Lloyd's body for a moment, and he is sure he can boast of being able to do so in the afterlife. That he is surprised that this wasn't Lloyd, and that one of the puppets was given the real sword to attack. He looks at all the puppets. He can't distinguish Lloyd's real body. Then all the puppets gather in one hand to strike him, and thus Lloyd's plan succeeds. Gisarme then talks about these clothes as an example of his ability, instant teleportation without looking. If he knows the location precisely but isn't certain about the destination, he can't teleport instantly. There are many ways to deal with Lloyd's puppets. These substitutes can only perform silly dances. The possibilities of things turning against him are very daunting for him, and honestly, this power is fraught with risks. But Lloyd is about to execute it, then Grim appears and warns him. Gisarme then uses his power to simplify the approach. The demon uses sword magic and strikes at all of Lloyd's duplicates at that moment. The truth is revealed to the demon as Lloyd uses a barrier to protect himself. The demon is very pleased that he has caught him, saying it's natural to protect his real body with a barrier. But Lloyd laughs and tells him that his real body isn't there. It's one of the duplicates. The demon thinks to himself, realizing that Lloyd has placed a bait with a barrier among the others. Each one has a barrier, so they're all fake. The demon uses sword magic again and throws it at Lloyd, saying that moving randomly in the midst of this attack would be reckless. It's likely one of the protected ones. He can't believe he has to think about overcoming the magic of this lesser creature. This is more exciting than fighting a demonic creature, but he's sure Lloyd feels the same. We see every sword attack by the demon on Lloyd turns out to be a puppet that breaks. Then we see the real Lloyd and Grim together. Grimm tells Lloyd that he didn't actually use a barrier. He just used an illusion to hide his presence amidst the whirlpool, where one blow is enough to kill him. Grimm, holding the sword, remarks, "This is called a spell collector." Lloyd replies that it's an enchanted sword inscribed with a special symbol for gathering spells. You can absorb a spell with this spell collector, and once absorbed, you can use it to enhance your mind. Grimm is very pleased, saying this seems extremely powerful. Lloyd tells him that this sword will help him study all sorts of new magic. Then we return to reality once again. Grimm speaks to himself, saying that the demon is trying to unlock the desired spell needed to use the Shadow Wolf, which Jed spent his entire life trying to learn and failed. He must surrender. He can't defeat this person because he never misses an opportunity to discover undiscovered magic. But this boy is the only one I've acknowledged as the world's biggest magic enthusiast. We'll finish off this scoundrel and achieve some peace for Jed's soul. Then we see Lloyd calling out to Jed in this place, but there's no response. A beam of light appears in front of him, and then Lloyd says, "I understand everything now." We return once again to the demon, and Lloyd hides all the existing copies appearing before the demon. He tells him that he was hiding with a spell that made him invisible, and blood was flowing from his cheek. This means he didn't use a barrier. "Are you tired of your blood?" The demon replied, "But it took time. You cannot defeat me, so why fight me in the first place? It cannot be out of pity. You are not like them. You are broken in a way. Come with me, and we will enjoy together in the world." Lloyd spoke. "I doubt you'll understand this explanation, but the lion never asks why it has claws and fangs because they never bothered them. This makes them straightforward and boring, speaking your way." Lloyd tells him humans are weak, and we live a life of suffering from what we lack. That's why we can build such amazing things. Magic is an imagination for the desire to fly and the desire to fire. Every spell is a solid spell in our dreams. The demon replied, "I don't understand." Lloyd attacked him, striking him with a powerful blow to his abdomen. He tells him that was not a mana attack. Using breathing to harness supernatural power is the techniques of Ki magic learned from all fields of knowledge. The demon is amazed by Lloyd's power, saying, "You attacked me when I used the instant transfer. I've been waiting for your mana spears for a while." Lloyd tells him it's just a more advanced version of the rival and crow's moves. He asks the demon to come to him quickly, making him angry, saying, "A creature like you, a garbage, making a request from the Lord of Demons. A stroke of luck made you delusional." Then Lloyd asks him if he remembers what he said, and as he takes his last breaths, the demon replies, "He didn't tell me anything important." Lloyd transforms into a good form, telling him, "You will lose." The demon gets very angry and attacks Lloyd, hitting him multiple times all over his body. Lloyd becomes unnaturally strong, and the demon couldn't handle him. Lloyd uses his magic to show a huge beam and ejects the demon from the pit. The demon says, "Where am I? I can't locate myself. Falling into the lava will be bad, even for me." Lloyd appears to him again and attacks him, surprising the demon with what Lloyd does to him, saying, "This was not entertaining at all. Have you run out of ideas? You must die." The demon tells him not to worry. The biggest difference between a demon and a lord of demons is that we can control aerial mana freely. This is the focus of all mana in the area. Create a barrier. This is the pinnacle capable of making anything created forgotten. This is called the transitory hatred of darkness. So today's episode ends. Stay tuned for the upcoming episodes, so don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive everything new. Gus finally snaps and tells Lloyd to not underestimate a demon lord as he reveals his ultimate technique as a demon lord. He can freely manipulate the mana in the atmosphere, and he gathers it above him, condensing it into a giant black ball. He tells Lloyd that no matter what he does, he cannot defend against his greatest attack. Gus yeets the dark magic sphere at Lloyd with all his strength, but Lloyd doesn't even bother looking at it. He simply points his hand towards the magic sphere, and then suddenly it vanishes with a poof. Gus is sweating buckets now, and he panics, asking out aloud, "Where did his ultimate magic spell go?" Lloyd calmly tells him that he dispersed it by hitting it with a similar magic technique. Gus snaps and asks him to stop kidding him, claiming that a human like him can't use a technique like his ultimate move. Lloyd decides to prove the demon wrong and activates the spatial class spell called Void. He concludes that it is the same spell as the one Gus used, and only the name is different. He says that he learned about this spell a long time ago and destroyed a mountain while trying it out that time. He came up with the question, what happens if two attacks of this mighty magic collide, so he set them up and tried it out. Gus goes crazy on hearing this story because using just one dark sphere, attack cost a tremendous amount of mana, and the boy is talking so casually about creating so many of them. Lloyd tells him that he was very excited to see the kind of reaction that would happen, but the spells canceled out each other when they collided. He says that he was quite disappointed back then, almost as disappointed as he is with Gus right now. The demon screams at him, telling him to stop bluffing, but Lloyd can't even focus on his angry rant because he is being bothered by a violent sneeze. Gus teleports above him and grabs his head. Still, in that moment, he feels the vastness of Lloyd's mana and finds that he is not even an ant compared to him. Even Grim is shivering and sweating because he too did not expect Lloyd to have such vast reserves of mana. Lloyd then coldly asks Gus, will he die if he gets hit by the ultimate spell void? He creates multiple magic spells all around them that slowly begin floating towards Gus. He is terrified and can only teleport away, but the attacks follow him and deal terrible damage to him. On the other hand, Albert and Diane are struggling to see the enemy in the thick fog, but the demons seem to be having problems of their own. Their body seems to be too heavy and weak, and Silpha, Sharu, and Luru take advantage of this to mow them down. Silpha feels that the demons are moving too slowly, even accounting the low visibility. She can also pick up a sweet scent, but as she tries to locate its source, she hears Ren's voice telling her to not inhale too much of it. She is using her ability to release a poison that slows down the enemies, and she is trying her best to keep it away from Silpha and others. However, she doesn't have full control over it yet, so it is very tiring for her. Others also take note of this, but Albert has realized something else. It is already past the time for sunrise, but everything is still as dark as ever. Everyone looks up at the sky to find what is happening, and they see a darkness there that is utterly different from the night sky. Lloyd's powerful magic has covered the sky and created an impenetrable darkness. His attack begins sucking Gus towards it like a black hole, and no matter how hard he tries, he cannot escape from it even when he tries using magic. His mana is sucked away from him, and the damage he receives from the black hole is too great for his regenerative abilities. Gus tries leaving the body, but the dead body of Jade suddenly stiffens as he is in the middle of leaving it. Gus is forced to return to the body after Jade's clenched teeth stop him, and he decides to use another trick to escape. He pretends to be Jade and tells Lloyd to save him, because his attack killed the demon inside his body. Lloyd knows he is lying, so he sends another magic sphere at him, and Gus can only scream and curse him and Jade's friends. As his body is turned to dust, Lloyd crushes Gus between the two magic attacks that collide and vanish, with that he retracts his intense magic, and the darkness shrouding everything vanishes. Jade's soul appears behind him and gives him a final message. That is enough to make RM break into tears. He vanishes with a smile on his face after that, with the sun rising over the distant mountains. The sunlight sweeps over the area, and Ren can only stare at Lloyd in the sky. She recalls the day. Jade told them an interesting rumor about the seventh prince. He told his friends that the accident that happened in the palace on the day of the seventh prince's birth was caused by a magic spell. He fired right after birth. His friends didn't really believe him, but Jade thought that it was a cool story. Nevertheless, he wanted to believe that there was a genius and powerful magician in the world who could cure their curses and pull them out of darkness. Golly and Jade got into a quarrel over his optimistic delusions, and Ren could only laugh at them in the present. She can only cry as she remembers that day. Later, Lloyd and Grim set up a memorial to pay their respects to Jade. Grim tells Lloyd that it was impressive that he managed to land an attack using Void on Gus, given how slow the attack is. He replies that it was because he deciphered the Shadow Wolf's spell that he could predict where Gus was going and hit him. However, he has to admit that GD was an insanely strong enemy and trying to figure out the teleportation magic. Mid-battle was a risky and reckless move. Lloyd says that he needed to figure it out anyway to win the battle, and he would not be satisfied even if he won without doing that. But he doesn't deserve much credit for deciphering the spell because it was laid out cleanly and beautifully for him. Lloyd believes that Jade managed to solve the complex spell before his death and left a message for whoever stepped up to face Gus after him. He says that it was not him who won the fight, but Jade Wren was hiding behind a tree all this time, and she breaks into tears on hearing this. Lloyd then tries to straighten the cross on Jade's memorial, and Wren decides to tell him how grateful she is. However, before she can get a chance, Albert arrives there. He asks Lloyd about the grave, and he panics as he tries to give him an answer. Albert already knows that it is the grave of Jade, the late leader of the Assassin's Guild and also the rightful ruler of Lordos. He knows the story of Jade and Lloyd's involvement in this matter, But that story is only half true. Golly and others fabricated it to keep the incriminating things a secret. But they told Albert about the life they led and the life they want to lead now. Sela and others also arrive there, and Albert tells Lloyd that he is proud of him for helping the assassins and defeating a demon on his own. However, things are not going to end, so simply Albert reveals that the assassins have been taken into custody and Ren is the only one who has not yet been arrested. They have killed many people for money, and they even kidnapped a prince and dragged him into war. These are all serious charges, and their punishment will be great too. Golly and others have said that they plan to atone for their sins by serving Lloyd for the rest of their lives. Albert trusts that they are sincere about it, but things don't end here. He points his sword at Lloyd, telling him that if he decides to accept the outlaws as his retainers and they make mistakes, he will have to take responsibility for them. Albert asks Lloyd to give his answer right now. First of all, Lloyd calms down the furious Sharu and then admits that his brother said perfectly reasonable things till now. He promises to make the assassins completely understand this thing, and if they still make mistakes after that, he will take full responsibility for that. He is confident in his decision, and Albert can only smile at him. A gust of wind showers, everyone with some flower petals, and Albert kneels before Lloyd, telling him that just because he is the seventh prince, it doesn't mean that he is insignificant to the rest of them. He ruffles Lloyd's hair after that and begins cuddling with him. When suddenly someone comes running in their direction, it is the who heard that Lloyd was in danger, so she came running to help him. However, when she realizes that the show is already over, she gets too embarrassed and starts running away. Albert tries to stop her because he still has to thank her for the other day, and he leads Silpha and others to stop. Lloyd is left alone with Grim, who says that he is really a softie. However, Lloyd replies that he is doing this only because the assassins have magic abilities that he absolutely wants to research soon after that. Silpha captures two and locates Ren. Golly and others are also freed from the ropes and told that Lloyd has accepted them as his subordinates. A few minutes after that, a tea party is organized in front of Jade's grave to help everyone feel a little better too, and others are anxious that they have 4 members of the royal family in front of them. But Albert asks them to feel comfortable. Tao takes this chance to order Silpha around, who throws some tea at her, and they start fighting in the meantime. Albert offers some fine wine to the nervous assassins. Golly tells him that Jade liked being loud and flashy, so they plan to give him a farewell. That is like that, but the presence of royalty is making them hesitate. Albert tells them to go ahead and do as they please because he also wants to send off Jade properly. Well, the assassins take this chance and Albert is already stunned. The drunk crow hugs Jade's grave and cries, and Tayo does the same, wishing that she met the handsome man just once before he died. Meanwhile, Talia tries hitting on Albert, but he is a Sigma male who doesn't fall for just anyone. Talia simply keeps close to him and uses her power to share her drunk state with him, and Albert gets tipsy. He immediately confronts Golly about his fluids on Lloyd's clothes, and everyone realizes that he gets angry when he is drunk at the same time. Silpha, Ren, and Elias have found a nice hot spring to soak their bodies in. Ren passionately tells Silpha that she wants to learn from her and serve Lloyd closely. Just like her, Silpha tells her that she should say things like this to Lloyd directly because she cannot decide them on her own well. Lloyd instantly gives his approval, and Ren freaks out on seeing him here. Silpha says that she dragged the prince here because he was covered in dirt and sweat. He tries sneaking away, but Safa just pulls him back with her and places him in her lap. Ren then asks him if he is sure about taking a poison blighted like her, who has killed many people. As his underling, Lloyd directly tells her that she needs to chance a lot of things about her, starting with the way she addresses herself. He says that instead of calling herself blighted, she should recognize her natural strength. He believes that by analyzing and researching the poison she secretes, she can become a pharmacist who can save many lives. Ren is moved to tears on hearing about this possibility, and Lloyd tells her that this is the long-term assignment. He is giving her. Ren is emotional now, as she recalls how everyone cursed and hated her power, including herself. However, Lloyd accepted it with all his heart, and he never called her or her friends blighted. Lloyd moves out of the pool and tells Ren to do her best, and she begins crying as she promises to give it her. All with that, Ren becomes SS's assistant and helps her in taking care of Lloyd. Lloyd nervously goes to his father to inform him about the assassins, but the king accepts his decision easily thanks to Albert's intervention. After that, Lloyd and Grim go to the Forbidden Underground Library so that he can continue learning about new types of magic spells each day.